Already seeing the slowdown around the downtown loop, especially east and westbound 40. Then if you get to 24, once you do get to 24, it is really slow go eastbound all the way over to Briley Parkway. Looking up north, seeing some really slow traffic, 24 eastbound in Jolton. And we're starting to get that brake tapping there, 65 to get to Hendersonville and Goodlettsville. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's 7 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Hope you're having a good afternoon on this sort of chilly day, 51 degrees. At least it's chilly in my studio. I had to put on a jacket, man, I'm telling you. We're glad that you're with us, though, and we're going to be covering a lot of ground. And I'll just be honest with you, if you don't like politics, I don't know what to tell you because pretty much between now and an election day, which is only 21 days from now, we're 3 weeks, folks. That's it. We're going to be covering a lot of politics because I don't think there's any story that is more important than this looming election and what it means for this country. Now, we'll do other things, don't get me wrong, but there'll be a heavy dose of politics. And I want to start out this hour by talking about sort of how the media are being disingenuous about the things that Donald Trump is doing. Now, there is a lot of criticism. If you go online, I mean, I can't tell you the number of stories I saw. Trump is dancing at a town hall meeting, and he's looking like a psycho. I mean, that word was actually used. It was just odd and strange and weird. And well, you know what? The truth of that story is something very different. And when you hear from somebody who was actually in the room, you get a very different read. Now, this reporter, I don't know. I haven't really noticed he's ever been overtly negative toward Trump, but I mean, he has a reputation of being sort of a hard-hitting reporter. Name is Terry Moran. He happens to work for ABC News. And he was at this event, and when you hear the full report, and especially pay really close attention to what he says at the end, I think you're going to get a very different read over the way it's being portrayed by many news media organizations that sort of have it in for Trump today. Here is the report from ABC News.
And former President Trump's town hall event in Pennsylvania took an unusual turn after he was interrupted twice by medical emergencies in the room. Trump stopped taking questions and stood on stage for nearly 45 minutes listening to his soundtrack. The crowd slowly dispersed, but many stayed for what became an impromptu indoor concert. ABC News senior national correspondent Terry Moran joins me now for more from Pennsylvania. Hey, Terry.
Hey, Alex. So Donald Trump came here to the suburbs of Philadelphia, one of the critical battlegrounds in this battleground state, looking for votes. And it was scheduled to be this town hall event where he would be taking questions and listening to voters. And it turned into something else, as you say, when the candidate turned into a DJ. Donald Trump, in his 11th trip to must-win Pennsylvania, urged his supporters to turn out on Election Day.
We win Pennsylvania, we win the whole thing.
Yes. In a town hall-style event in the western suburbs of Philadelphia, the former president stuck to his top issues, attacking Vice President Harris over inflation and immigration. He pledged to shut the southern border, end Russia's war in Ukraine, lower prices at the grocery store, and bring down interest rates to 2%, while providing few details on how he'd accomplish all that.
People don't think of grocery. It sounds like not such an important word when you talk about homes and everything else, right? But More people tell me about grocery bills, where the price of bacon, the price of lettuce, the price of tomatoes, they tell me. And we're going to do a lot of things.
But then, 30 minutes in, two attendees suffered medical emergencies.
A doctor, please. Doctor.
The incidents shifted the mood, prompting Trump to cut the question short and instead play some of his favorite music.
How about this? We'll play YMCA and we'll go home.
Trump kept DJing, and most of his supporters stayed for another 30 minutes of his playlist.
Well, in certain quarters of social media, people had a field day with that, and I guess on the screens it might have looked quite strange. Inside that hall, however, people were having a good time. What can I tell you? It did not seem out of the ordinary. It seemed almost intimate, and at the end, Trump did something he very rarely does. He came down off the stage and mingled with his supporters. He was signing autographs and shaking hands and the like.
Well, now that doesn't sound wacky, does it? I mean, what you had there was a medical emergency, and they had to, you know, it would have been sort of insensitive to just continue answering questions while, you know, somebody's having a heart attack over there. So he decided, you know, while we're waiting, let's just play some music. And you know, he was riffing because you had an unexpected situation emerged. And then it just sort of turned into a fun thing, and he just sort of went with it. And it wasn't wacky. I mean, a lot of people are really attacking him for being, you know, he's dancing, he looks very strange, it's odd. But according to Moran, who was in the room, it was actually sort of a fun event for everybody. Everybody had a good time. And at the end of the day, he stayed and shook a few hands afterwards. And he said, what can I tell you? People there, they had a good time. And it was, as he said, sort of an intimate moment that he had with his supporters. So, you know, you really have to, when you see these headlines sometimes, Trump is psycho dancing, you know, crazed lunatic is sort of the what they'll try to tell you this is all about. But it's not that at all. James Carville and others on the left are having a field day claiming that the president wants to sic the National Guard and the military on his domestic opponents. Listen.
Well, I would first of all have a flood of people say that to use the U.S. military to round up domestic enemies is about as anti-constitutional as anything that you can think of.
Well, okay. I would agree, but that's not what was said. It comes from a soundbite, an answer that Trump gave to Maria Bartiromo. I had to dig it up. It took me forever to find it. This is what the entire exchange was really about.
But I'm just wondering if these outside agitators will start up on election day. Let's say you win. I mean, let's remember, you've got 50,000 Chinese nationals in this country in the last couple of years. Yeah. You have people on the terrorist watch list, 350 in the last couple of years. You got, like you said, 13,000 murderers and 15,000 rapists. Right. What are you expecting? Joe Biden said he doesn't think it's going to be a peaceful election day.
Well, hold on a minute now. So what she's talking about is election day and agitators, and she started out, when I think of agitators, I think of, you know, well, the anarchists who like to riot over things like, you know, like the Black Lives Matter riots, or maybe, you know, some of the riots we had and the professional agitators that we had. And then she also mentioned, and we got all these other people in the country as well. And, you know, and so her question is, you know, what do you do in a situation like that?
Peaceful election day.
Well, he doesn't have any idea what's happening in Norfolk as he spends most of his day sleeping. I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left.
Radical left. The radical left, the people, the anarchists, the people who are out there agitating at times like this, causing riots on our college campuses, causing riots on our street. That's what he's talking about there. And you know what? You would be okay in a situation like that to use the military. There's just There's just one problem with the whole thing. On Election Day, he will not have control of the military. So it's a stupid hypothetical to begin with, because he can't possibly sick people out of the military on his domestic opponents on Election Day, because he won't be in control of the military on Election Day. He won't do, if he wins the election, he won't have that ability even until January 20th. But but he's not even talking about people who oppose me politically. He's talking about the anarchists, the professional agitators, the rioters,
lunatics, and I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't let that happen.
Well, let's just go look and see when it has happened. You have this thing called the Posse Comitatus Act, 1878. It prohibits active duty military troops from carrying out law enforcement duties inside the United States. The military is barred from the daily policing of Americans, but it can be used to quell rebellions. And it has been used in that way. It's been used dozens of times throughout history, but not by Trump. In 1957, President Dwight D. Eisenhower, boy, now there was a radical guy, wasn't it? Used the law to deploy members of the Army's 101st Airborne Division to escort 9 black students into Little Rock Central High School, after the Arkansas governor used the state's National Guard to prevent the students from entering the school. More recently, the law was invoked by President George H.W. Bush, another well-known radical, during the 1992 riots in Los Angeles. That followed the acquittal of Rodney in the Rodney King case. And it even in the January 6th riot that we had, many called for the president to invoke the Insurrection Act as justification for far-right militia storms to storm the Capitol, but he didn't do that. So, look, I'm telling you, they're making up stories about this guy, and then trying to, make the case that, well, he's a radical, he's a lunatic, he's got a screw loose, and when you dig into it, you find out he's talking about a certain set of circumstances. I mean, when Maria Bartiromo started out the question by asking about agitators, he's not talking about political opponents, as he has been accused time and time again. If you just get online, you'll find all these people from the left who are accusing him of he's threatening to come after our political opponents with the military and the National Guard. Well, that's not what he's saying at all. And stop it. It's foolishness. Now, Carville is just, he's just losing it. He also believes that Trump, because he happens to have a campaign rally scheduled for Madison Square Garden in New York, that he's somehow a Nazi.
And that he's holding a rally in Madison Square Garden that, I'm sorry, is a mimic of a rally held on February 20th, 1939 by the American Nazi Party.
Oh, come on. Because you hold a rally at Madison Square Garden, that makes you a Nazi? It's insane, and it needs to stop. It needs to stop. It's 20 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. It's the spooky season. Don't be tricked. Let Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your Rude Pro partner, treat your family. They have 2 contests for you during the month of October. If you think you have a scariest furnace, tag Busy Bee with your scary furnace picture on any of the social media platforms for a chance to win a date night on them. You'll get 2 Preds tickets and dinner for 2. The winner will be announced November 1st. How about a free Beehive membership? All you have to do is carve a pumpkin. Somehow it's supposed to be an image of Buzz the Bee, their mascot, and then post it and tag Busy Bee on social media platforms. Now, As a Beehive member, you'll receive 3 annual tune-ups, 1 for cooling, 1 for heating, 1 for plumbing, 10% discount on all repairs, priority front-of-the-line service, $100 annual accrued replacement credit, up to $1,000 max, and no overtime or holiday fees, all for as little as, ready, $99. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee HVAC, your Rude Pro partner, 775-7833, or visit busybehvac.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Metro Police say they're working active leads looking for a man who shot and killed a woman as she was exercising on a greenway in Antioch. Details at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, that would be Ken Weaver there in the newsroom closet, bringing you all kinds of news and information on the hour and the half hour. And what? Wait, where's Weber?
Where is that boy?
He was back from a week of vacation.
Yeah.
And now he's gone today?
Yeah, what's he up to?
He's sloughing off again. I mean, come on. I meant, how much time off does that guy get? Did he? I don't know. But Jeff Melanoff is in again today. I think Chris will be back tomorrow.
I didn't even know he was going to be gone. They just grabbed me from my apartment, and now I'm here. I don't know what happened.
No, Chris said he had some last-minute things he needed to take care of, and he'll be back tomorrow. Again, good to have you in, Jeff. You did such a great job last week. We decided we'd put you back to work again today.
Appreciate it. I appreciate that a lot.
Sorry about dragging you out of your apartment, though.
Was that you?
Yeah.
That was the they.
That was
that we have here.
I know
they did that.
There's a guy around here. I've seen him a couple of times, but only in the shadows.
Yeah. They do a lot of weird things.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you know what tomorrow is? Believe it or not, it is the beginning of in-person early voting in the state of Tennessee.
Yep.
First day of in-person voting and absentee voting by mail for the upcoming November 5th election, now through Halloween, or Halloween. I don't know. Which is it? It's emphasis on the last syllable, right?
Yeah. There you go.
I always
Brian.
get the wrong emphasis on the incorrect syllable. But no, it's Halloween. But now through Halloween, tomorrow through Halloween, it just seems strange when I say it that way.
It does.
Hey,
you've got me thinking about it now.
Well, Texans tend to, and it's a thing that I learned a long time ago about the way Texans talk. They tend to put emphasis on the first syllable of words. I'll give you a couple examples. Insurance instead of insurance.
Yeah, insurance.
Yeah, and it's Halloween is correct, but we say Halloween.
Halloween.
Yeah, and another one that we do wrong is Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, yes.
Which to me, again, it's about thanks. To me, the operative part of that word is thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks is the most important part of Thanksgiving.
Right.
Giving thanks. So I don't know, but apparently it is Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. It's thanks. No, it's Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Insurance. Well, there's no insurance that I'll have this job tomorrow if I keep this nonsense up. Hey, how about that? All right. So anyway, early voting begins tomorrow. And, look, here in Tennessee, we know pretty much how it's going to play out. It's a very red state, despite the fact that some of the major metropolitan areas are very blue. The rest of the state is overly red to make up for it. And Republicans, that's why we have a supermajority of Republicans in the House and Senate. It's a very Republican state. No big surprises here, but I think it's just a good idea to get it done with early. I mean, I don't think there's probably anybody within the sound of my voice who is having a hard time deciding how they're going to vote. So if you know how you're going to vote, now there are elections where I would say, personally, I would say, I'm going to wait till election day. I want to see how this plays out. But there's nothing that's going to change my mind. So I'm going to go Wednesday, tomorrow, Cabana wife and I are going to go vote early. Get it out of the way, get done with it, and then you don't have to think about it. Because you know what happens on election day? Life intervenes.
Well, that's true.
I mean, I always say, we have a plan, and then life intervened.
Traffic,
or it could be, something comes up at
illness.
Work. An illness. Maybe you don't feel good. Maybe it's a bad weather day and you don't want to get out. I mean, one way or the other, get it out of the way and, and get it done. And then you don't have to think about it anymore.
Brother Brian, I think you're talking me into it, man. I was going to wait, but I think I might just do it early.
Well, I mean, there are, I've witnessed elections where there's a lot of give and take, and you don't want to. You don't want to go too early because, what happens is, you miss the October surprise.
Oh, yeah.
But look, the October surprise is not as big a thing as it once was because we start voting, 60 days out in some of these places. So, I'm just going to go ahead and cast my vote, and I would encourage you to do the same. You got to bring an ID. Because we in the state of Tennessee have the right idea about making sure that people, when they cast their vote, are the people they say they are.
Call us old-fashioned.
Yeah, what a quaint old concept that is. So there you have that. Meanwhile, just real quick, in Wilson County, apparently somebody's going around and messing up Donald Trump and J.D. Vance signs. So the Republican Party is offering $1,500 reward for information related to the multiple cases of vandalism to political signs that promote the Trump-Vance ticket. It's happening again and again and again, said Wilson County Republican Party Chair Brad, I believe it's Lytle. It's happening elsewhere, but we think maybe the reward will be enough that someone will turn on them. They started with a $200 reward, but multiple people chipped in. Now the reward is $1,500. Quit messing with the signs. Okay? 30 minutes now past the hour. Time for the news on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Looks like the first frost of the year, maybe tonight. Well, actually, I should say first frost of this fall, maybe tonight. If not tonight, look for it tomorrow. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Metro Police are working active leads looking for a man who shot a woman in the head while they say she was exercising on the Greenway in Antioch. Here's Channel 4's Dryden Quigley.
Alyssa Locketts was running down the Creek Mill Greenway when police say she was seemingly attacked by a stranger and dragged over to these woods. That's where witnesses heard her screaming for help. Minutes later, they said there was gunfire. When police got to her, they found Locketts had been shot in the head. She was taken to Vanderbilt, where she died.
Police say the suspect, described as possibly Asian, left the area in a dark-colored four-door sedan. Some of the 911 calls from Saturday's mass shooting after the TSU homecoming parade have been released.
I think the police are here. I think the police are here. Thank you.
The address of the emergency.
Oh, we're on Jefferson. We're on Jefferson. This lady got shot.
Yeah, you can hear the chaos behind the woman there on the call. Police say 2 men they arrested for this shooting have local gang affiliations. 24-year-old Marquez Davis, 24-year-old DeAnthony Brown. Davis, police say, was convicted of robbery and felony gun and drug charges in April, but let go on probation. Both are charged with criminal homicide for the death of 24-year-old Von K. Johnson and the injuring of 9 other people, including 3 young girls, one 12 years old, the other 2 14. Business news, Walgreens plans to close 1,200 stores over the next 3 years, although it hasn't said which stores it will close. Walgreens operates about 8,500 stores across the U.S. The company's been struggling for years with tight reimbursement for its prescription drugs and the rising costs of operating its stores. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, the drive home has started to slow things down, and we've got some hurdles, a little added, little extracurricular, if you will. Got an accident with the right lane block, 440 eastbound, right before Hillsborough Pike. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Let me tell you, if I could, about the Wellness Institute of Nashville. You know, as much as we like it, we're so. There really is no pill or no magic cream that you can magically apply and open up your spinal disc and take pressure off your nerves. You see, if you have back pain, it's caused by pressure on the nerves, most likely. And you have a couple of choices there. One is surgery. The other is non-invasive spinal decompression. Now, that's what I chose, non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Their state-of-the-art facilities and their high-tech equipment make the offering of the latest non-surgical procedures, an everyday thing. They do great work there. Getting better is important, so Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are offering half-off spinal decompression treatments and half off the KT knee machine. Now, when you get there, if you're a new patient, You'll get an exam. You'll get a consultation. You'll come up with a plan and your first treatment, and that only costs you $23. And after that, remember, the spinal decompression is half off. I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today at 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
.38 minutes past the hour, 3 o'clock. Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair all the way till 7 o'clock tonight, bringing you news and information. Let's talk about the border situation, because it is one of the major issues of this campaign. And you know, I've talked many times on this program about my concerns that we have a lot of people coming into this country that we don't know anything about. The so-called gotaways. I think my best estimate is that it's somewhere around, they say 1.8 million, but then they say there's 20% that you got to add to that for the things that they don't even know that they're out there. See, a gotaway is normally when they see it on a camera or pick it up on a sensor and they say, well, we can't get to those people, but we know they got in. But there are a certain number of people who get in that you don't know anything about. But if it's not for these sensors, we wouldn't even know about the gotaways. We wouldn't, if it weren't for the sensors and the cameras and all of the technology that they have at work, we wouldn't know where to send the Border Patrol to interdict these people when they come into this country illegally, to greet them, to process them, to at least have some contact with them, even if it's only, you know, a slight contact. So this is very concerning, this next story. From Newsmax.com, Border Patrol, 1/3 of surveillance cameras on the border are not working. Roughly 1/3 of the surveillance cameras along the U.S.-Mexico border are out of order. The whole thing's out of order, quite frankly, and posing a significant impact on the Border Patrol's operations, the agency said in an internal memo. The outage is affecting about 150 of the 500 remote video surveillance system cameras that have been mounted on towers along the southern border, according to a Border Patrol memo to agents reported by NBC News Tuesday after they obtained the document. Several technical problems are going on with the cameras, and officials speaking on the condition of anonymity said that outdated equipment and repairs that remain outstanding are to blame. The camera system has been used since 2011 so that large areas can be surveyed without having to commit hundreds of agents. But the internal memo said that 30% of the cameras are out of play and that it's not clear how long they've been down. Some of the cameras were repaired this month, 2 Customs and Border Protection officials said, but there are 150 outstanding requests remaining. The internal memo blames the Federal Aviation Administration. I don't understand why the FAA would be responsible for the cameras and making sure that they work, but they are apparently. That somebody can explain that to me. The memo explained that the FAA had some internal problems that are keeping it from meeting the Border Patrol's needs, and that leaders are considering replacing the FAA with another contractor who can provide adequate technical support. The FAA, which did not return NBC's request to comment, plans to send workers to the southern border to repair the cameras, the Border Patrol said. Meanwhile, the CBP spokesman said its agency also installed about 300 new towers that use newer, more advanced technology that embraces artificial intelligence and machine learning to replace outdated systems, reducing the need to have agents working non-interdiction functions. We hope the issue is resolved as soon as possible. The American taxpayer has made significant investments in the technology along the border, and they expect that this technology is operational. Well, I mean, so we count on the sensors and the cameras to tell us where to send the Border Patrol, and we count on them to show us that at least we know, well, okay, 1.8 million people got through without any involvement with law enforcement, and they just go across the border and then quickly absorb themselves into the fabric of America. But now we find out that about 30% of the cameras they're using are not working. It seems like maybe somebody might have been dragging their feet on that. From Breitbart, new migrant caravan headed north trying to beat the possible arrival of a Trump administration. A new migrant caravan of approximately 1,000 migrants departed from Mexico's southern border this weekend to make its way to Mexico City. From there, the group is expected to disperse and find various ways to reach the U.S. border. The caravan is the second to start in Mexico since October 1, when the country's new president, Claudia Sheinbaum, took office. Yes, the president of Mexico is named Claudia Sheinbaum. The caravan began early Sunday morning at Tapachula, Chiapas, and has been officially named God is Guiding Us. The caravan comprises of approximately 1,000 migrants from Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Haiti, Panama, and Costa Rica, as well as some migrants from Afghanistan and Nepal. The group plans to make its way to Mexico City, with its ultimate goal being, of course, the U.S. border. Everybody trying to get squeezed under the wire, knowing that they'll get a lot more favorable treatment from the Biden administration than they will get from a potential Trump administration. Again, from Breitbart, feds admit, this is shocking, child sex trafficking reports have tripled under Harris and Biden. Youth sex trafficking and its myriad cruelties tripled under President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, according to a report in thefreepress.com. They describe some of the harms inflicted on youth migrants under the lax policies set by the Biden's border chief, Alejandro Mayorkas. Here's from the initial report from the Free Press. Sex trafficking victims often suffer horrific abuse, as I discovered when I spoke to Landon Dickinson, the 36-year-old executive director for Bob's House of Hope in Denton, Texas, the only shelter for male sex trafficking victims 18 and up in the country. Dickinson says they've seen teens from Central and South America who have been so tortured by their traffickers they can barely function. Dickinson described caring for teens who have brain damage from being so heavily drugged, teens who have had their fingernails pulled out, and lemon juice poured on the wounds. When I asked to interview one of the migrant residents, Dickinson said they simply weren't in any condition to speak to anyone, much less a reporter. We think the cartels and gangs use torture as a control method for the males. They're not going to fight back if they chain their victims to a radiator, beat them up frequently, or drug them. The abuse and prostitution may be forced on young migrants who are indebted to smugglers and their affiliated trafficking gangs in the United States. If they cannot pay their debts, their families can lose farms and homes to the banks that hold the loans. Rising number of youth sex trafficking cases was posted at the Department of Health and Human Services when the Free Press demanded the data under the Freedom of Information Act. The agency is responsible for checking and issuing certification and eligibility letters to the children and youth who first request aid after escaping sex traffickers. But the headline here, that such child sex trafficking, most of these young people come across the border illegally, picked up by the coyotes. They are sort of co-opted by the gangs and forced into the sex slave trade. And it's just abysmal what is happening. And that has gone up 3 times higher than it was before Harris and Biden. Really horrible, terrible things going on in this country. And you know, it's human suffering. You know, it's easy for us to get angry at the people coming across the border illegally. But what really irritates me is that it seems to me that the Biden administration made it very clear that they're doing this for political purposes. Long term, what they want is they want folks to come across the border. They want to find a pathway to citizenship. They want to make them voters. I think some will probably vote anyway, but they want to make them citizens so they can vote, and they'll be beholden to the Democrats who let them into the country. And so it's for crass political purposes that they do this. They don't care about the pain. They don't care about the suffering. They don't care about the pain and all of the ugliness that comes along with people coming into this country illegally. They simply are looking for a way to take this situation and turn it into a political advantage. That's what it's all about. And it's so irritating to see them allow this to happen. And it doesn't seem that they're doing a whole lot to fix the situation. See, that's what happens when you accept chaos at the border. There are going to be people who get swept into these dangerous situations because there's no orderly way it being done. And, you know, Trump says it's fine. We need people to come to this country. We need people to come to this country. Listen to this. Here's Trump speaking on a Bloomberg thing today.
I want a lot of people to come into our country, but I want them to come in legally. I don't want to have...
That means you will have to deport. You know, you are talking about deporting 11 million people. That is a lot of people to take out.
It came out last week that 425,000 people are horrible criminals at the highest level, but it came out that 13,099 were let in during their administration. They tried to say longer, wrong. Over the last 3.5 years, 13,000 plus people came in, murderers. They're in jail for murder. Some were having the death penalty. They were all released into our country. 13,099 people were released into our country. We had drug dealers released. We had street gangs released. Look at what's happening in Aurora. But now I don't have to go with Aurora anymore. Look at what happened last night in Times Square, where migrants from all over the place. You know, it's not just South America. We have people coming in from the Congo, large numbers from the Congo and Africa. They came in, as of last night, I was speaking to Tom Homan, 180 countries. People came in. They came from prisons and jails. They came from mental institutions and insane asylums, a step above. They came from the terrorists. We had large numbers of terrorists come in. When I was president, we had the strongest border in the history of our country. I built hundreds of miles of wall, and walls work, by the way. Hundreds of miles. We had the best numbers we've ever had. Now we have the worst numbers, and here's the problem. We have some of the worst criminals in the world coming in. Now, Venezuela, their crime has gone down at levels that nobody's ever seen before because they've taken their street gangs and their drug dealers and they've emptied their prisons, not fully because they can't get enough buses. They've emptied their prisons. They load up the buses and they drive them into the United States, and they're dropping their prisoners into our country. Their crime is down. Their numbers are crazy how low it's dropped. I heard 72, 74%.
And in this country, the numbers are going up. 51 past the hour. King and Associates Insurance in Brentwood has been in this business as an independent agency for over 25 years. And an independent agency is exactly what you want. And you say, well, why? Well, because as an independent agency, they don't have to sell you one product that they might happen to have. They can shop around and find a policy that really meets your needs. And the end result of that is, hopefully you'll get more bang for your insurance buck. That's what you want. You want the best insurance you can get for as little as possible. And boy, have you looked at insurance prices, anything helps on that front, right? And when you call this number, 615-329-8121, you won't reach a call center. You'll reach an actual person every time. Every time. Multi-policy discounts. If you bundle, 20, 25, 30, 35%, huge savings. So unless you're living in your car, you need more than 15 minutes, right? And so get your royal review with King & Associates Insurance. Log on to tkinginsurance.com. King Insurance & Associates. You'll get royal treatment and great rates.
Antioch Greenway attack and homicide. Former President Trump gets combative during a one-hour Q&A in front of some of the nation's business people. We've got that for you at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's right. We'll be talking about that, in fact, and because we have a reputation for this on this program, we'll have the very latest in moon news. There is moon news and comet news.
Oh.
You can see a comet tonight. I mean, how many days do you wake up and you say, you know what, tonight, when the sun goes down, I'm going to see a comet in the sky. But, I mean, it's very clear. You'll see it as clear as day.
Unless the clouds are still.
Well, unless the clouds are there. That's right. But, I mean, if it's clear skies, you'll see a comet in the sky tonight and through many of the next coming nights here in
well,
October.
we got plenty of opportunity there.
Yeah, we'll tell you more about that. It's right now 59 minutes past the hour. Let me tell you, if I can, about the folks over at Coin. You don't have to wait until November to start taking our country back. We can get into the fight now with Coin, the conservatives' credit card. Instead of funneling millions to the left like other cards, Coin advances conservative values and charities. Earn cash back while fighting back. Apply now at coin.com. Here's how it's spelled. COIGN.com. It's a little weird, but that's the way it's spelled. COIGN.com. I got one in my pocket. You get one in yours. Terms apply. Go to coin.com/disclosures for full details.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast. Traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in Nashville, Metro Police say they're working active leads, looking for a man who shot a woman in the head while she was jogging on the Greenway in Antioch. Channel 4's Dryden Quigley says Alyssa Lockett was exercising when a stranger dragged her into some woods where witnesses say she was screaming for help. Minutes later, a gunshot. When police got to her, they found Lockett had been shot in the head. She died later at the hospital.
Many walking on the trail today said they had no idea this had just happened hours ago. Diane Woolfolk is out here almost every day and noticed these flowers. She says at first she thought they were leaves. She then realized it was rose petals marking where Lockett died.
It's just sad. It's sad that today that people can't go out and walk anymore, without fearing for their life. I guess, we talked about earlier, I might want to get some pepper spray.
Police say the suspect drove off in a dark-colored sedan. They're still looking for him.
Metro Police say one of the two men they've arrested for the deadly shooting downtown on Saturday had been let free on probation in April after convictions of robbery, felony gun and drug charges. Police identify him as 25-year-old Marquez Davis. The other suspect they arrested, identified as 24-year-old DeAnthony Brown. Both men arrested have local gang affiliations, police say. They're charged with criminal homicide in the death of 24-year-old Von K. Johnson. A routine procedure has turned into a nightmare for some patients at Vanderbilt Medical Center. After getting an endoscopy, this woman, she calls herself Miss Matthew, tells Fox 17 she was told the equipment wasn't sterilized correctly, and she may have been exposed to HIV or hepatitis.
I have a liver condition, so I knew that if I were to be tested positive for this, then it could be probably life-altering for me.
In a statement to Fox 17, Vanderbilt said the problem affected less than 4% of its endoscopy patients, but it wouldn't say how many patients that is. It also said the problem has been fixed. Well, former President Donald Trump appearing today before a group of Midwestern business people. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
The hour-long Q&A in front of the Economic Club of Chicago had Donald Trump giving an ardent defense of his proposals to increase tariffs, arguing past presidents weren't tough enough on China.
They said, oh, they are a third world nation, they are developing. Well, we're a developing nation, too. Take a look at Detroit.
Trump pushed back on critics of his economic policies and on Bloomberg interviewer John Micklethwaite.
It must be hard for you to, spend 25 years talking about tariffs as being negative and then have somebody explain to you that you're totally wrong.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Yeah, really slow going around the loop, especially if you are northbound 65 there to the 24 split. There is a multi-vehicle crash at Trinity Lane. So that's backing up northbound 65, also westbound 24. And then eastbound 24, it is red all the way over to the 40 split. And the usual slowdown as you're coming north on 65 to go east on 440. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 8 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7, hour number 2 of the drive. We got 1 down, 3 to go. I mean, that's how much stuff is still ahead in this exciting broadcast, where we'll bring you news. We'll bring you information you can use. We'll drive you home. We'll drive home some salient points. And, well, if we have any luck at all, we'll drive the liberals just a little bit crazy. That's our goal. Let's start out with our 2024 update, because I'm telling you, there is so much material to get into here. You heard a little bit of it in the news, but I want to play a lot more of it. Donald Trump is at a many of these events that he goes to. He does them with the Wall Street Journal. I think that one's coming up. He did one with Bloomberg, and they're sort of round tables in front of an audience where they're asked some questions. And the reporter from Bloomberg, I don't know who this guy is. He's got some kind of Brit accent. I don't know. Wickensham or something like that. But he's given Donald Trump a hard time about tariffs. And Donald Trump is absolutely not having any of it. Here we go.
You're also talking about 20% tariffs on the rest of the world. That is going to have a serious effect on the overall economy. And yes, you're going to find some people who will gain from individual tariffs. The overall effect could be massive.
I agree it's going to have a massive effect, positive effect. It's going to be a positive, not a negative.
Well,
let me just tell you, I know how committed you are to this, and it must be hard for you to, spend 25 years talking about tariffs as being negative, and then have somebody explain to you that you're totally wrong. It'll have a negative. It will have. I'll go a step further.
40 million,
if you don't
40
do
million,
this,
President
this
Trump,
country has no
40
chance.
million jobs is a lot of jobs to rely on.
They're all coming back.
Those are 40 million jobs. Those are 40 million jobs in America that rely on trade.
Are you ready? John Deere, great company. They announced about a year ago they're going to build big plants outside of the United States, right? They're going to build them in Mexico.
And you threatened them
they're
with
also going to
tariffs
build.
And they stopped.
That's right. I said, if John Deere builds those plants and not selling anything into the United States, they just announced yesterday they're probably not going to build the plants, okay? I kept the jobs here.
And he wasn't going to end there. He said, he just went after this guy.
What does the Wall Street Journal know? I'm meeting with them tomorrow. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you, by the way. You've been wrong about
You're trying to turn this. You're trying to turn this.
You've been wrong.
No, you're trying to turn this into debate. There are business people. There are business
you're wrong.
people.
You've been wrong. You've been wrong all your life on this stuff.
You know what I love about it? It took him a while, this election cycle, but Trump is hitting his stride. And he's not, I guess what I'm trying to say is the communication process has sharpened with this guy. He's making his points, but he's very low-key about it. He's not being as bombastic as he once was. He has his moments, I'm sure, just like Kamala Harris cackles now and then. But I mean, more and more and more, he's delivering the same information in a way that is more acceptable to so many people who like Donald Trump's policies, but they kind of dislike the guy. They don't like his personality. Well, he's being less of that bombastic Trump that we have seen in the past and more of a guy who's just getting his points across in a very effective way. It must be really horrible to be you and to be wrong all the time. It was done in sort of a skewering way. He wasn't backing down, but it was a good back and forth there with a guy who I think, by the way, really doesn't have tariffs figured out very well. All right, so there's that. Democrats are entering a panic mode as Trump tightens the race in the swing states. I'm not going to give you a lot of numbers, just I'm going to sort of break it down in a very easy way today. The Real Clear Politics general election average. Trump is basically 8.6 points ahead of where he was at this point in 2020 when he lost. That's in the general election number. In the battleground average, he is 5 points ahead of where he was when he lost in 2020. So he's doing much better than he did in 2020. And Kamala Harris is not meeting the numbers that Biden had either, and by any stretch of the imagination. By the way, there's a story out there I'm just going to say it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over it because it's one of those things that's sort of hard to read. Well, let me just explain it. Harris is accused now of plagiarizing at least a dozen passages for a book she wrote called Smart on Crime. That would assume she was smart on crime, which I don't think she was. But there are many, many passages now that have been identified by people who've gone through and looked at the text and compared it to other texts and other, studies that were done on crime. And it seems very clearly that she just lifted them up out of the right off the web and put them right in her book. She didn't even change up the language or give it, more importantly, or give credit to those people for the information that they provided. Plagiarism. Maybe it's a quaint old notion, but, it used to be that candidates washed out. Joe Biden washed out one time in one of his presidential campaigns because he plagiarized parts of another speech from another politician in Britain. Word for word. Plagiarism. And he didn't give the guy credit. I think his name was Neil Kinnock, was the guy he quoted. He washed out of a presidential race in one of his many attempts because he plagiarized that information. Kamala Harris plagiarizes information, puts it in a book. Nobody says a word. Nobody says a word. All right. But here we go back to it. Democrats are anxious over recent polling data, which suggests the race for the White House is tightening in swing states. Kamala Harris has held a small but noticeable lead over Donald Trump since President Joe Biden announced, but that ended, and the numbers are now trending toward Trump. On Friday, CNN shared the latest data on 3 swing states, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, the latter with its 19 electoral college votes. It's deemed crucial for both Trump and Harris, while Michigan and Wisconsin have been the Democrats' strongest states for up to 7 grabs. Harris's 2 to 3 percentage point lead has shrunk to just over 1 point in all 3. That's in a CNN poll. There are other polls that have Trump actually leading in these states. And Democrats are freaking out, absolutely freaking out. Here is MSNBC's national affairs analyst on that particular topic. Again, this is MSNBC.
Hey, there are some reasons why Democrats, there's a case for panic. I mean, there's a case, there's data out there that should alarm Democrats. And you go through and look at some of those things. When you hear people like Alyssa Slotkin in Michigan or Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin privately telling people that the vice president's behind in those states, that's a good reason to worry. You look at her numbers with African-American voters, her numbers with Hispanic voters, that's a good reason to worry. What is not a good reason to worry, and this is where I kind of go to the other side and say, here's the reason why you are just bedwetting here, and this is where you all have to calm down, is the race is tied statistically. It has been tied statistically since the Democratic Convention, effectively. Harris got some ground from the late August to mid-September. But we have been in a statistical tie nationally and in the battleground states that entire time. There's not been volatility in this race.
Well, let me just say, I can identify a trend of late away from Kamala Harris and toward Trump in the battleground states. It's very clear. It's very clear. Real Clear Politics average is slowly changing. But I think he makes a good point there, and just a sort of a overall umbrella reminder that a lot of this stuff is well within the margin of error. So let's not get too carried away. Let's not get too carried away. One thing that is clear, and when you look at the internals of the polls, is that Harris is having trouble with black men voters. In Michigan City, Harris has failed to catch fire with black men. Pontiac, Michigan. This is from the Washington Post. The city's main drag has not seen true bustle for decades, with dozens of vacant storefronts scattered among active businesses. But that has not stopped Brian Killian Bay from daydreaming about the red brick corner property on North Saginaw Street. I have my goals, he said, peering inside a building that he has already explored, transforming into a black-owned restaurant and lounge. We don't have enough places for us. It's been a good year for Killian Bay, age 60. who in August took on a lead violence prevention role for the city that nearly doubled his pay. But he sours when discussing the presidential election. Talking to the Washington Post nearly a year ago, he said black men were being overlooked by both parties, and the ascent of Vice President Kamala Harris, who is black and Indian, has not changed his mind. In December, when President Joe Biden was the presumed Democrat nominee, and the Post interviewed this gentleman and other black men in the Detroit area, polls showed waning enthusiasm among black voters for Biden and the Democrats. After Harris was nominated, a late August Washington Post Ipsos poll found a significant jump in the number of black Americans saying they were certain to vote, but that shift was concentrated among younger black women. Turnout interest hardly increased among black men, with 66% saying they were certain to vote, compared with 63% in April, while turnout among interest among black women rose to 71% from 61% in the same period. The Harris campaign on Monday signaled a need to reach out to this demographic of black men, releasing an opportunity agenda for black men that includes such items as loans for small businesses and a focus on health challenges facing black men. Still, some of the initiatives are not new or do not target black men specifically. It was not clear whether they would affect voters' willingness to embrace Harris. I mean, her idea was to say, we're going to give you basically forgivable loans. Well, I'm sorry. Forgivable loans, those two, that's an oxymoron from a moron. You see what I did there? An oxymoron from a moron. Okay, it's the best I can do. But what she's saying here is that it's a loan that you're not going to have to pay back, so it's not really a loan at all, is it? And understand that this would be only eligible for black entrepreneurs who wanted to apply. Well, what if you're Hispanic? What if you're Asian? What if you're just a white guy who's trying to find a way, to start a new business? You're not eligible for the same loans. We're just going to carve out millions and millions. It's supposed to be 1 million loans that she's going to make, forgivable loans, if you will, and she's going to give them only to one strata, one demographic in America. That's nuts. I'm not even sure it's constitutional that you would say we're going to give this benefit only to one demographic, black men. All others need not apply. Doesn't seem very fair. I mean, not that I'm against the idea of entrepreneur zones for minorities who want to come. We've done it, and it's worked in the past. I like the idea. But to say that we're going to have something that's basically we're going to give you free money if you're in this particular demographic, but if you're in any other demographic, then, need not apply. Doesn't quite seem right. Doesn't quite seem like it should work. Meanwhile, Trump, this story is very definitely out there. We had the soundbite yesterday from senior data reporter over at CNN, Harry Enton, that Trump is the strongest Republican with black voters since 1960. That's a long time ago. 1960. And that was during Richard Nixon's run for office. I'm telling you, that is a remarkable statistic. 22 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. If you'll allow me, I'm going to forego my normal talking points on United Structural Systems, other than to say they've been around since 1994, more than 30 years, and they have more than 25,000 satisfied residential customers. And guess what? I'm one of them. I mean, the folks at USS have come out to my house, and they've done some work underneath my house in the crawl space to make sure that we're not having water and wetness under the house. That's a recipe for disaster in any home. You don't want water. You don't want moisture under the house. You want a nice dry space, and now that they've finished, my space will be totally dry. And then I had the classic stair steps, cracks, and bricks, which indicates that something was going on. And they came in and they fixed it. And I'm telling you, it looks just like new. No one would ever know. I am a very satisfied customer, and I know you will be as well. If you need foundation repair, you need waterproofing, maybe you got concrete that's sloping or sinking or is sort of crooked, and you need to get it straightened out and level and plumb, they can do that for you. Don't replace it, raise it, they say. 65, you're going to really love what they do here. And here's the number, 615-488-7855. Learn more by going to their website, ussstn.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
We've got the latest on last night's Antioch Greenway murder coming up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, Ken Weaver, you're the guy for all the news that we need to know. But I mean, I have one little carve-out niche that I'm really known for. That is, I'm the repository of all moon news.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that everybody knows we're about to have yet another exciting supermoon.
Yes, sir.
Supermoon, moon. It needs a little echo reverb. Because it's not just a moon; it's a supermoon, which means that because we're in a situation where the moon is in its nearest orbit, it's not a purely circular orbit around the Earth.
It's kind of an oval.
It's an oval, and right now it's in sort of what we would call its closest phase. I think that's the apogee, perigee or apogee. I can't remember which it is. One way or the other, it's close. And so when it comes up over the horizon, its closeness, relative closeness, and the fact that you view it through the lens of the atmosphere, which makes it bigger than normal, seem bigger, it looks super. It's called the Hunter's Moon.
The Hunter's Moon.
The Hunter's supermoon. And it will hit its peak, well, really, tomorrow night and Thursday night, you'll see it. I mean, technically it happens, full moon comes after sunrise, so that doesn't really count. But if you look at it Wednesday or Thursday night, it will appear to the casual observer as a super moon.
Gonna look like it's right up on us.
That's right. Now, tonight, you better do this while you still can. It was actually at its peak a couple of days ago, but you could still see the comet Suchanshan, I can't say it, Suchanshan Atlas. I believe that's right. It's one of those words that starts with a TS.
Sounds good to me, Brother Brian.
I believe the T is silent. Suchanshan Atlas is currently visible to the naked eye. It can be seen, the brightest comets to be seen in the past 27 years.
Ooh, that thing is bright.
Yeah, you can see it. Just go out tonight. I think it's in the western sky. And about the best time to see it is about, it will be low in the eastern sky in mornings, but I think it's in the western sky now. And you can see it, and it had the tail and everything. A tail as long as a kite. That's right.
This thing's an 80,000-year comet, man.
Yeah. You don't see comets very often.
No.
And this one is one that, I mean, yeah, I remember everybody was, many years ago there was some comet coming and everybody was getting all excited about it. This one, that one you needed like binoculars or a telescope to see. This one you could see. I mean, it is up there. You can see it with the naked eye.
Naked eye.
Not the naked, the naked eye. So you might want to get out tonight and take a look. I'm going to double check here. I think it's the western sky.
Okay.
At sunset.
That's coming up.
It's coming up here in just a short while. That's right, as it gets dark a little earlier and earlier and earlier. So listen, find a dark, unobstructed sky, and you'll see the comet. And that will be
comet
exciting.
Suchanshan.
You think that's the way you say it? You looked it up.
Looks like it's Suchanshan Atlas.
Yes. That's much better than I can say.
You nailed it. You said that.
You can come to me for moon and comet news. It's 31 past the hour.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast traffic updates in 5 minutes. And right now in Nashville, Metro Police advising residents be extra careful. Maybe walk or jog in pairs on the Greenway in Antioch. This is where a woman was seemingly attacked and then shot in the head last night as she exercised. She later died at the hospital, and police are looking for a man they say left the area in a dark-colored four-door sedan. Channel 4 caught up with a few people exercising there today, including Diane Wilfolk, who says she's there often.
Well, hopefully you won't return to the scene. I'll just be a little bit more careful and, try to be vigilant about who I see and where I'm going.
Metro Police identified the woman killed as 34-year-old Alyssa Lokitz. Detectives say they're following leads to identify the suspect. In the meantime, if you have any information, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers. You can remain anonymous, and callers are instantly eligible for a reward up to $5,000. Money news, here's Sherry Preston.
Tech stocks pulled down the markets, led by two chip makers, NVIDIA and ASML. The Nasdaq lost 187 points, the S&P down 45, the Dow gave up 325 points. NVIDIA shares fell almost 5%, although the company's stock is still up 166% for the year. Investors were also reacting to downbeat earnings from Dutch chip supplier ASML, which were released a day earlier than expected and show a disappointing sales outlook for 2025. Some of Wall Street's sharpest losses came in energy stocks after oil prices tumbled about 4%. United Health Group fell 8%, even though the insurer reported better than expected results, the company lowering the top end of its forecasted profit. Walgreens stock soared 16% on news that the pharmacy plans to close 1,200 stores over the next 3 years. Boeing is signaling it could raise up to $25 billion by issuing new stock or debt over the next 3 years to shore up finances amid a union strike.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Yeah, it is bumper to bumper on anywhere you go around the loop at downtown. Now, you have an added hurdle. That's going to be 65 northbound, right there where it meets 24. You've got the northbound right lane blocked by a multi-vehicle crash. Coming over here to 440, looks like eastbound here. We've got a disabled vehicle at exit 3. The eastbound shoulder is blocked. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, many of you who've lived here for a long time, you know about this company called Eurofix. They've been in Middle Tennessee, the place to go for your European car repairs for some 24 years now. And we've watched them grow over a period of time. And I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. Well, the folks at Eurofix are now proud to announce a 5th location in Mount Juliet for Eurofix. It's on Mount Juliet Road, right across the street from the Dairy Queen. Eurofix can now serve you. You ready? Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and Mount Juliet. You know, it's pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic starting at a barn in the backyard of his single-wide trailer grow to 5 locations, repairing thousands of cars each month. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. Call this number, 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com and tell them your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson, sent you. It is 39 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson here all the way till 7 o'clock tonight, wherefore Mark Levin takes over. Glad you're with us on this 15th day of October, middle of the month, payday for some people. Glad to know that it's, you're going to get paid. And it's a time for us to do, some local news. We're around the world, across the nation, up your street and down your alley. We bring it all to you. A family of a Tennessee employee, according to the Associated Press, who was killed by catastrophic flooding caused by Hurricane Helene, has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the company he worked for, arguing that workers were forced to stay at their post even when managers knew conditions were becoming dangerous. This all has to do with what happened in eastern Tennessee at a company called Impact Plastics. According to numerous people who work there, they kept saying, hey, we got this factory right alongside the river. It is raining. The river is rising. The parking lot is flooding. Shouldn't we go home? And according to many people, now the company says that they have a different view of this, but many people who work there have claimed that they waited too late and then that people got stuck in the parking lot. The waters continued to rise. They actually, many of them took refuge above a sort of a long trailer that had pipe on it, plastic pipe on it, and we're trying to stay above the floodwaters. But it got so rough, the water knocked over the trailer, and people were washed downstream. A few people survived. Some people have not even been found, I don't think, and they're still looking for them. Maybe they found them, but one way or the other, they were lost in this flood. And now they're saying, look, the company should let us have gone home earlier, and they made us stick around until it was too late. The raging waters, here we go, swept 11 people away. Only 5 were rescued. 2 of them are confirmed dead and are part of a total across 6 states of nearly 250 dead. 4 others from the factory still missing after they were washed away in Irwin, where dozens of people about a mile away were rescued off the roof of a hospital. Based on information we've uncovered, including accounts from surviving employees, we believe this tragedy could have been avoided, said Alex Little, an attorney representing Peterson's family. Impact Plastics was aware of the flood risk, and while employees requested permission to leave, the company failed to act, and we will hold them accountable. Now, I will say Impact Plastics has a different view of all this, but one way or the other, it looks like it's headed to a lawsuit, no doubt, where people are going to tell their side of the story. We have told you a lot lately about District Attorney Glenn Funk in Davidson County. He's the Nashville District Attorney, what they call a District Attorney General, Funk. And we told you that, they did an investigation. TBI came in. There was all kinds of investigation of his office because it was alleged and later found to be true that apparently they had the ability to monitor defense attorneys when they came in, both with video and audio, record their conversations. And then, they said that they never knew that they were being recorded. Now, this was looked at by the Attorney General of Tennessee following the investigation, and the Attorney General, Jonathan Scarmetti, said he didn't think he would bring a case. And so Funk said, well, that exonerates us. And I said at the time, no, it really doesn't, because you know what's going to happen now. We're going to have all these people coming in, defense attorneys saying, I didn't know I was being recorded. You had an unfair advantage, and I think that, we need to have this case thrown out or sent to another jurisdiction or something. And every defense attorney worth his salt is going to come in and say, I was in your office. I didn't know I was being recorded, and you need to throw this case out. And you know what? One judge has already, in one case, has already said, yeah, we need to look at this. Funk says, no, there's no expectation of privacy. But, quite frankly, I think he's wrong on that point. There is some expectation of privacy, and it would be an onerous burden on the defense to try to bring a case when the prosecution knows everything that was said in confidential conversations as they were planning their defense. I don't know. To me, it's not over. And what I really fear most of all is because of this, a lot of bad people may walk, have their cases thrown out of court. It's being looked at by at least one case right now, and there will be others. You can be sure of that. Now comes this. A former prosecutor has sued Nashville District Attorney General Glenn Funk, accusing him of forcing her out of her job after she served on a jury in a criminal case and voted to acquit the defendant being prosecuted by Funk's office. The lawsuit filed Monday in U.S. District Court accuses Funk of violating the First Amendment rights of Katie Hagan, who went to work for him in January 2024 as an assistant district attorney. Hagan, a longtime defense attorney, had been praised by Funk's office when she was hired as a highly respected attorney. In July of 2024, Hagan was summoned for jury duty, and after clearly identifying herself in court, was selected to hear a case where a defendant was accused of aggravated assault, unlawful possession of a handgun, and public intoxication, the lawsuit states. Hagan was selected as foreperson of the jury, which deliberated for less than an hour before finding the defendant not guilty. Afterwards, Funk, according to the lawsuit, berated Miss Hagan for her jury service and accused her of being unethical. According to the complaint, Funk specifically took issue with the jury's returning of a verdict of not guilty and told Ms. Hagan that the not guilty verdict would strain her relationship with law enforcement officers in the Metro Nashville Police Department. Lawsuit includes a letter that Hagan sent to Funk to document the DA's response, including statements allegedly made by Deputy District Attorney Amy Hunter that she didn't think I was able to think like a prosecutor, whatever that means. More trouble at the DA's office in Davidson County. From WKRN.com, Williamson County Board of Commissioners has approved license plate readers on the highway in Williamson County. The council passed the motion with 21 votes to approve, one opposing vote, one council member abstaining. So they will have LPRs. Now, a lot of people look at LPRs and their initial feeling is, well, that's a violation of my privacy. Well, it's really not. Supreme Court has said on many occasions that there is no expectation of privacy on a public street. And these LPRs are used to hunt down and take criminals off the street. You have to have, the way it's working, the way it's worked in other jurisdictions, is you have a situation where the police have to attach a complaint case against a license plate for it to even be monitored. Otherwise, it's not monitored. And so, you know, what happens is a lot of people who have outstanding warrants get picked up by the police, and bad people are taken off the street. It's worked fabulously in Mount Juliet. It's worked in other jurisdictions as well, and now in Williamson County. Interestingly enough, in Davidson County, where the council initially approved it, the mayor is now dragging his feet because they say, well, we feel like it's that they're going to use this in certain communities and not in others. Well, if you've got a crime-fighting tool, where do you put the crime-fighting tool? Where the crime is. So, I don't know. Apparently, even though it's been approved and police want it, they desperately want it as a crime-fighting tool, especially when it comes to, like, this real serious problem we have with stolen cars. You know, you have a stolen car, you take the license plate, you put it in the system, and when that car drives past an LPR, it is reported, and people get arrested and picked up, and they've had tremendous success in Davidson County during the test period, and the council said to go ahead with it, but now the mayor is saying, I don't like the idea. Apparently, everybody else in the world is using them and finding that they are a valuable law enforcement tool, taking bad people off the street in many cases, but we apparently don't want to do that in Davidson County. Also in Davidson County, according to WSMV, an old tent city is being somewhat dismantled The city removes quote-unquote hazardous structures from a homeless camp outside downtown Nashville. Now, they were going to close some of these up, and then they changed their mind on it. Now they're saying that they're going to remove hazardous structures under the Silman-Evans Bridge. The health department has performed a comprehensive assessment of both the people living in the homeless encampment and those who live in the surrounding area to prioritize health and safety. I can't imagine living under a bridge is good for anybody's health or safety. And finally, this story has been reported that they're closing down the Smoke and Thighs restaurant after 10 years of business. Apparently it's a very popular restaurant. But as you may remember, the restaurant's owner, 42-year-old Matt Carney, died in July from injuries sustained during a hit-and-run accident in the parking lot of his restaurant on June 19th. What you may not remember is the person responsible, according to police, is 29-year-old Ulysses Martinez, an illegal immigrant who has admitted to striking Carney with his truck during an attempted robbery. He's been charged with murder, but it was an illegal immigrant in this country, improperly allowed in by the Biden administration, who has admitted to striking Carney during an attempted robbery, and now the Smoking Thighs restaurant, because its owner has died, will be closing its doors in Davidson County. 50 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. Well, the folks over at Stoltz Co., if you're in the market for a pole barn, the two brothers that run Stoltz Co. are the two guys you really need to talk to. They're known for exceptional quality, craftsmanship, and fair prices. They can build your new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind. That is the Stoltz Co. different. Now, do you have a piece of land? Maybe you got a piece of property out in the country or something. And are you doing anything with it? Well, why not invest in that property? Put a building on it from Stoltz Co. Do something with your money. Do something with your land. Some people might build a barn dominium, which is it's a barn that you live in. Oh, and they're very cool, very popular right now. Other people might want to do a pole barn, a place to store, your vehicles, your equipment, an equestrian space. How about turning it into an event space? Hey, that's a great idea. Some place to hang out on the weekends. Listen, whatever you decide to do, I want you to do me a favor. Go to their website, stoltzco.com. Take a look at what they've done for other people. And when you see it'll cause your brain to start turning. You'll come up, you say, man, that's a great idea. Then give them a call, 615-622-5992. At stoltzco.com, ladies and gentlemen, STOLTZCO, stoltzco.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Metro Police say they have made an arrest in the Antioch Greenway murder. I've got the details coming up at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And I got to tell you, there is some stuff that's going on out there in the political world that is really unfair. Media organizations, saying that Donald Trump has lost his ever-loving mind and that he's got dementia and that he looks odd and unhinged simply because he had a light moment at an event that had some real complications. He basically made lemonade out of lemons. And I'm going to explain to you how wrong much of the reporting about this is. It's all coming up right here on the drive in the next hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, let the team at Restoration Wellness help you achieve your health goals. Restoration Wellness is a leader in weight loss management here in Wilson County. Call the Restoration Wellness team today at 615-470-8124 or visit them at their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com, to book a consultation today. My friends Carly and Jamie will take excellent care of you, just like you're part of the family, and you will become part of the 1,000 patients who've already seen life-changing results from the weight loss management program at Restoration Wellness and Med Spa. Weight loss can increase your energy level, improve your quality of sleep, enhance your overall health. And these are customized treatment plans. Restoration Wellness will consider your unique needs, lifestyles, and goals. And I'm telling you, it's working for me. I'm down. Look, if anybody's seen me lately, they'll say, the first thing they say, man, you've lost some weight. 33 pounds. Whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Learn about the newest technology and techniques in weight loss management. Learn more at restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now, breaking news. Metro Police have made an arrest in that deadly Antioch Greenway attack last night. They have arrested 29-year-old Paul Park of Brentwood. Police releasing a video of Park in handcuffs being helped out of a squad car taken into booking. Park's arrest comes after witnesses last night say they heard a woman's cries for help and then a gunshot on the Mill Creek Greenway. When police got there, they found a woman in the wood line suffering from a gunshot wound to the head. She later died at the hospital. Channel 4's Steve Mailing went to Neighbors, where the victim lived, to learn more about her.
The Mill Creek Greenway Trail is only minutes away from where 34-year-old Alyssa Lokitz lived. We're told that she was super active, her neighbors saying that she'd wave to them every morning before she'd leave to exercise. Through our research, we've learned she's a graduate of Vanderbilt, where she earned her PhD in neuroscience. From her profile on the Ham Labs page, we know her focus was geared towards pharmaceutical research. People in her neighborhood in Antioch say that she hadn't lived there for too long, but that she was always a friendly face.
All right, so until this arrest, Metro Police were advising residents to be extra cautious on the Mill Creek Greenway. Given last night's murder, you might still want to do that. We don't know much about the arrest of this 29-year-old man, Paul Park. Until we know more, police advice to walk or jog in pairs seems prudent. One of the two men Metro Police arrested for Saturday's deadly mass shooting had just been convicted of robbery and felony drug and gun charges in April, but then set free on a 10-year probated sentence. Police identify him as 24-year-old Marquez Davis, whom they say had a gun last night when they arrested him. 24-year-old DeAnthony Brown, the other suspect arrested. They're both charged in the death of 24-year-old Von K. Johnson. 9 others, including 3 young girls, one 12 and the other 2 14, were injured when these people started shooting each other. Police say Davis and Brown are affiliated with local gangs. Vanderbilt Medical Center warning some patients they may have been exposed to HIV or hepatitis due to unsterilized equipment. This patient, Johnny Mozingo, telling Fox 17 he received a phone call 3 months after having a colonoscopy.
She started reading saying you may have been exposed to hepatitis A, B, and C, and HIV. and it was the solution they used.
He and other patients report they were not given guidance on what to do next and how to prevent transmission to their spouses and loved ones. Vanderbilt said in a statement to Fox 17 the problem has been corrected. Some of the patients say they plan to sue. Election 2024, former President Trump defending his economic policies at a Q&A session in Chicago today.
The former president spent most of the hour-long Q&A defending taxes on imports.
To me, the most beautiful word in the dictionary is tariff.
I was actually quite kind.
Interviewer John Micklethwaite, Bloomberg's editor-in-chief, pushed Trump on criticisms of his economic policies.
What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you.
Micklethwaite asked Trump if he's spoken to Vladimir Putin since leaving office, something Trump has recently denied.
Well, I don't comment on that, but I will tell you that if I did, it's a smart thing.
That's Stephen Portnoy reporting. And the latest news, traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Really heavy traffic anywhere you go around the downtown loop right now. And it looks like it doesn't really get much better on 24 eastbound until you get past Briley Parkway. Speaking of Briley Parkway, north and southbound, there's south of 40, back to 24 there in South Nashville. That is especially heavy. Looking at very heavy go eastbound 440 right now between 21st Avenue and I-24. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon, everybody. 5 o'clock, 5:08 actually, on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson. Hour number 3 of the drive now kicking off. We got a lot of ground to cover here, a lot of news to share with you. So buckle up, everybody. Here we go. Want to talk about, well, you know, we're going to be talking a lot about politics. I don't know, you know. Call me crazy. 21 days until the election. Perhaps we ought to buckle down and focus on it a bit more than we normally do on this program. And so I want to spend some time here telling you that, you know, there's a lot of, well, I'm gonna use probably all three of these. There is a lot of out there with regard to reporting on Donald Trump, and quite frankly, these media reports, these mainstream media reports, are complete. And quite frankly, these organizations are being just a little bit by trying to push these certain narratives about Donald Trump. Now, I'm going to give you a perfect example of that. If you go on social media today and you spend any time there at all, you're probably going to come across a story that talks about how Donald Trump looks like he's lost his mind. He had an event, and it turned into like a dance party, and he was dancing and moving and grooving on the stage, and everybody wondered, what's wrong with Donald Trump? Has he got dementia? You know, all of these crazy things about Donald Trump because, well, he's on stage and he is dancing and he's listening to music, and it turned it into a big music party. And you may say, well, what's going on with that? Well, clearly, Donald Trump has lost his mind if you go along with some of this reporting. But that's not what happened. And you know, if you talk to somebody who was actually there, you get a very different read. There was an event with Kristi Noem, and it was supposed to be a town hall, and it started out that way, but there was a problem that emerged. And Donald Trump, you know, tried to take lemons and turn it into lemonade. And it actually, for people who were there, turned out to be quite a fun thing. The president was, you know, ad-libbing, as it were, with a bad situation. Now, Terry Moran was actually in the room. He's a correspondent for ABC News. Now, I know Terry a little. I've met him a couple of times. I don't know that I would count him as somebody who is always antagonistic toward Trump, but I find him to be a pretty fair and up-the-middle reporter most of the time, not all of the time. But in this particular case, I think he got it just right. He said, look, what you're hearing on social media is not quite correct. Here is the full ABC report.
And former President Trump's town hall event in Pennsylvania took an unusual turn after he was interrupted twice by medical emergencies in the room. Trump stopped taking questions and stood on stage for nearly 45 minutes listening to his soundtrack. The crowd slowly dispersed, but many stayed for what became an impromptu indoor concert. ABC News senior national correspondent Terry Moran joins me now for more from Pennsylvania. Hey, Terry.
Hey, Alex. So Donald Trump came here to the suburbs of Philadelphia, one of the critical battlegrounds in this battleground state, looking for votes. And it was scheduled to be this town hall event where he would be taking questions and listening to voters. And it turned into something else, as you say, when the candidate turned into a DJ. Donald Trump, in his 11th trip to must-win Pennsylvania, urged his supporters to turn out on Election Day.
We win Pennsylvania, we win the whole thing.
Yes. In a town hall-style event in the western suburbs of Philadelphia, the former president stuck to his top issues, attacking Vice President Harris over inflation and immigration. He pledged to shut the southern border, end Russia's war in Ukraine, lower prices at the grocery store, and bring down interest rates to 2%, while providing few details on how he'd accomplish all that.
People don't think of grocery. You know, it sounds like not such an important word when you talk about homes and everything else, right? But more people tell me about grocery bills, where the price of bacon, the price of lettuce, the price of tomatoes, they tell me. And we're going to do a lot of things.
But then, 30 minutes in, 2 attendees suffered medical emergencies.
A doctor, please. Doctor.
The incidents shifted the mood, prompting Trump to cut the questions short and instead play some of his favorite music.
How about this? we'll play YMCA, and we'll go home.
Trump kept DJing, and most of his supporters stayed for another 30 minutes of his playlist. Well, in certain quarters of social media, people had a field day with that, and I guess on the screens it might have looked quite strange.
Listen.
Inside that hall, however, people were having a good time. What can I tell you? It did not seem out of the ordinary. It seemed almost intimate, and at the end, Trump did something he very rarely does. He came down off the stage and mingled with his supporters. He was signing autographs and shaking hands and the like.
Well, I mean, that's a very different kind of take on it, isn't it? I mean, Terry Moran was there. He said, yeah, you know, he took a lot of crap on social media for this thing where he was playing music for the crowd. But understand what happened here. You had two people who were in the crowd who suffered some kind of medical emergencies. Now, you know, that's a tough thing when you're giving a speech and somebody in the crowd is passed out, maybe having a heart attack, and the doctors are rushing over there and attending. If you go forward with the event, you sort of look uncaring, right? But at the same time, you know, so I think he decided, hey, look, we got 30 minutes in. I guess it's hot in the arena. He was thinking, let's just cut this a little short. But, you know, let's play YMCA and then everybody go home. And then everybody's having such a good time, they just continued. And it was completely ad lib. And as you heard Terry Moran say, most of the people stayed. Most of the people seemed to be having a great time. He thought it was sort of charming, quaint. Just, you know, they were having a wonderful thing. And it seemed, as he said, the word he used was intimate. An intimate thing that he was sharing with people who were there, obviously, because they adore Donald Trump. Very different than he's unhinged. He's dancing on stage. He's lost his mind. See, you get to the point where you can't believe anything that you read any out here in some of these mainstream media places and some of these social media postings. Man hadn't lost his mind. He was taking a lemon and making lemonade. And it just turned into, it was ad lib. It was, you know, something rare in the world of politics. Something completely unscripted and unexpected. What a concept. And, you know, now you read a lot of stories out there. Oh, Trump is going to round up his political opponents, and he's going to have them arrested by the National Guard or the military. That is not at all what he said. First of all, let's listen to somebody who's making the accusation. This guy's losing it a little bit. James Carville.
Well, I would first of all have a flood of people say that to use the U.S. military to round up domestic enemies is about as anti-constitutional as anything that you can think of.
Well, is that what he said? I had to look it up. I didn't know what they were talking about, but I did finally find the soundbite of Donald Trump. He's talking this past weekend to Maria Bartiromo, and she asked a question about, you know, the people who have, you know, agitated at riots in the past, the Black Lives Matter, the whole you know, Gaza protest that clogged up our universities for weeks and weeks on end, and you know, she was wondering, given all of that, and then some of the other people that are in this country, you know, what should be done if there is chaos on Election Day by, you know, the anarchists and the others. Here is the entire clip, and when you hear her question and then you hear his answer, you understand that he's not at all talking about rounding up his political opponents using the military. He's talking about what you do if there should be a riot.
But I'm just wondering if these outside agitators will start up on Election Day. Let's say you win. I mean, let's remember, you've got 50,000 Chinese nationals in this country in the last couple of years. Yeah. You have people on the terrorist watch list, 350 in the last couple of years. You got, like you said, 13,000 murderers and 15,000 rapists. Right. What are you expecting? Joe Biden said he doesn't think it's going to be a peaceful Election Day.
Well, he doesn't have any idea what's happening in all fairness. He spends most of his day sleeping. I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics.
The radical left lunatics. What he's talking about here is people who have who might on election day try to create all kinds of chaos. And we've seen this before. There are a group of people in this country who go from crisis to crisis, fomenting all kinds of chaos and creating, riots and creating protests that spiral out of control. We've seen it happen. And he's talking about those people, the so-called black bloc, the anarchists, the people who are professional agitators. He said, I'm not so much worried about the people who've come into this country, although that's a whole different concern for him in a different way. He said on election day, it's these people who will, we got to watch out for, the enemy within. He's not saying his political opponents are his enemies. He's simply saying there are people out there who come, and if we have a situation that spirals out of control, perhaps maybe we should use, what has been done in the past, the National Guard or the military.
And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't let that happen.
Well, one thing you got to understand here is that, if you're saying that, he's going to use it, he's talking about election day. On election day, he doesn't have any sway over the National Guard or the military. He's not president until January 20th. And what he's suggesting is that, maybe Joe Biden would need to do that. But by the way, there is this law that is called posse comitatus. It passed in 1878, which really prohibits the military from being used as a police force, but it can be used to quell rebellions or riots. 57, Dwight Eisenhower used them to escort 9 black students into Little Rock Central High School. In 1992, in the Rodney King riots in Los Angeles, George H.W. Bush sent the National Guard and military units to bring order to Los Angeles. So it has been done. I mean, Dwight Eisenhower and H.W. Bush, those guys were real radical badasses. You know it? Come on. This is not at all what he's talking about. And very quickly, let me just add this. This is, again, Carville, who is losing it.
And that he's holding a rally in Madison Square Garden that, I'm sorry, is a mimic of a rally held on February 20th, 1939 by the American Nazi Party.
So if you hold a political rally in Madison Square Garden, you're a Nazi, according to James Carville. The man is losing his mind. He's the one who is losing his mind. Any suggestion that a political rally held at Madison Square Garden makes one a Nazi is just way beyond the pale. But, Democrats are desperate, and they'll say anything at this point. 22 past the hour. Probably the number one question I get from listeners is, how can I get in the conservative fight? Well, it's critical to know where your dollars are going. Most credit cards are funneling millions to the left. But now you have a choice. Coin is America's conservative credit card. You earn cash back while fighting the liberal agenda. Apply now at coin.com. Now, I want to spell this for you. It's an unusual spelling. COIGN.com. Coin, the G is silent, coin.com. I have one in my pocket. You get one in yours. Terms apply. Go to coin.com/disclosures for full details.
Metro Police make an arrest in the Antioch Greenway murder. We've got details at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 27 now minutes past the hour. Just a reminder, and I think this is an important thing to remind you of because, I really hope that everybody will take advantage of early voting in the state of Tennessee. Republicans traditionally show up on Election Day. And look, we know what the outcome pretty much is going to be. We shouldn't be lackadaisical about it. We should take this very seriously because there's nothing more important than casting your ballot. It's one of the most important things we do as citizens. But, it's not going to be any big surprise. Republicans are going to do well in the state of Tennessee. It's an overwhelmingly red state. But what I would say to you is go out there and cast your ballot. Starting tomorrow, you can do early balloting, early voting, and I'm telling you, I think it's a good thing to do because you know what? Despite your best intentions, things happen on Election Day. As we say, the best laid plans are made, but then life intervenes. You never know what's going to crop up. Maybe the baby is sick. Maybe you're not feeling well. Maybe, I don't know, the weather's bad one way or the other. Maybe you get hung up at work. Maybe you get hung up in traffic. One way or the other, if you get it done early, you don't have to worry about it on Election Day. So get out there and do that. And it starts tomorrow in Tennessee. I'm sorry. Is that right?
Yep.
Yep, Wednesday. Wednesday tomorrow. Yeah.
Yep.
This is Tuesday. That's tomorrow. So do it tomorrow. Cabana and wife are going to get up. We're going to go cast our ballots and get it out of the way.
I think I'm going to do it right after my walk.
There you go. I think it's a good idea. And look, honestly, most of us within the sound of my voice, you know how you're going to vote. There's not any surprises here. I do sometimes wait in elections when I'm thinking, you know what? I still haven't made up my mind, and there's still some stuff that could drop in the last few days. I always wondered what it was like in a very close election where you really haven't made up your mind, where you go and you vote early and then you find out something drops in the form of an October surprise or something, and you go, oh, now I wish I hadn't voted that way. But in this race, you pretty much know how you're going to vote, right? So get it out of the way. Again, be sure and take some ID. You got to have ID in the state of Tennessee because in the state of Tennessee, we take it seriously. We think it's important that you prove you are who you say you are when you cast your ballot.
We're old-fashioned that way.
Yeah, we are. It's a quaint notion, I know, lost on some states, but we still do it the old-fashioned way here. And so, take advantage of it. Again, wherever you go to vote normally, you're probably going to be able to vote there. I guess that's not entirely true. You have to look it up, find out where the early voting place. I can vote in Watertown, the same place I would vote on Election Day.
Mm-hmm.
So get on out there and do your citizenry duty, your duty as a citizen. Whatever. It's now. It's time for the news at 5:30.
.30 on the dot this Tuesday evening. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes, and right now Metro Police say they arrested a 29-year-old man in connection to a deadly shooting on the Mill Creek Greenway in Antioch last night. Police posted a video of a handcuffed Paul Park being helped out of a patrol car and then walked into booking. It comes after a woman was seemingly attacked and then shot in the head as she was running on the Greenway last night around 5:30. Channel 4 caught up with folks at the Greenway today who were saddened to learn what happened.
It's just sad. It's sad that today that people can't go out and walk anymore, without fearing for their life. I guess, we talked about earlier, I might want to get some pepper spray.
Police identified the woman as 34-year-old Alyssa Lokitz, who lived just minutes away from the Greenway there in Antioch. Channel 4 says her neighbors say she was super active, always waving at them every morning on her way to exercise. She was a graduate of Vanderbilt, where she earned her Ph.D. in neuroscience and was into pharmaceutical research. Police in her neighborhood in Antioch say she hadn't lived there for too long, but she was always a friendly face. Some of the 911 calls from Saturday's mass shooting after the TSU homecoming parade downtown have been released.
I think the police are here. I think the police are here. Thank you.
What is the address of the emergency?
Oh, we're on Jefferson. We're on Jefferson. This lady got shot.
Police say two men they arrested for that shooting have local gang affiliations. 24-year-old Marquez Davis and 24-year-old DeAnthony Brown. Davis, police say, was convicted of robbery and felony gun and drug charges in April, but then set free on probation. Both men now charged with criminal homicide for the one death that occurred in that shooting. That would be 24-year-old Von K. Johnson. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Yeah, we got a crash 24 westbound right before James Robertson Parkway, and then a stalled vehicle blocking the right lane of 440 westbound. This is going to be at Hillsborough Pike and 21st Avenue. And then on the west end, 440 westbound at West End Avenue. So 440 right now going westbound is really backed up because of those crashes. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Let me tell you about the folks over at DT McCall. They have got something big going on. If you're thinking about buying a gun safe, but you've been putting it off, now is the time. Gun safes are sales tax free. That's right, sales tax free. It's hunting season, so be sure you're keeping your guns safe when they're not in the tree stand with a Liberty gun safe from DT McCall. Did you know DT McCall's is the largest Liberty safe dealer in Tennessee? It has to do a lot with their free delivery and setup policy. You see, others charge $500 at least for delivery and setup of the big models, $300 for the smaller models. DT McCall & Son delivers every safe free every time, period. No setup charge either. Security is important these days, and a Liberty gun safe from DT McCall can be used for valuables, cash, mama's jewelry, important documents, wills, deeds, car titles, whatever you need to keep safe from theft or fire. Save some big bucks now on your Liberty gun safe when you shop at your local DT McCall's. Just go to dtmccalls.com for locations and information.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
There it is. Oh, it's my favorite part of the show. It's where we have the Three Amigos gather. Amigo number one is in the newsroom. He's playing his air trumpet. He is the one, the only Ken Weber, the bearded wonder. Hello, Ken.
Good afternoon, boys. Yeah.
We got Jeff Malinoff in the control room because Chris Weber's sloughing off again.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy, you barely keep him in the chair. I don't know what he's thinking. But he'll be back tomorrow. But Jeff is in today. Good afternoon, Jeff.
Good afternoon, sir.
And I am Amigo number 3, and together, we make up the Three Amigos, and you never know exactly what's going to happen when the Three Amigos gather, because, it starts out with some strange story, but you never know then where our thoughts might lead us. It can be funny. It can be the road to ruin. It can be all kinds of things. So we'll get started. Who wants to go first today?
I can go first.
All right, go ahead.
All right. We also sometimes talk about things that you might need to turn the radio down before you have dinner. Doctors are shocked by what they see on clean hands under a microscope.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
One is quoted as saying, "Oh, that is nasty." This is from the New York Post. It says you might want to take another look at how you're washing your hands. Dr. Myro Figura and Dr. Dana Brems posted a TikTok video reacting to a seemingly clean hand being put under a microscope. As the tiny ridges of the person's skin come into clear view, particles of dirt and what appears to be sand can be seen hiding in plain sight. That's what brought on Dr. Figura to say, "Oh, that is nasty." She says there can be over 3,000 types of germs on that hand alone. Wow. So it's just another example of you've got to wash your hands. And, of course, they go through the steps. You have to do it for 20 seconds. You got to scrub your hands.
Yeah.
But you actually, what they're saying is you got to go finger by finger. And then not just the bottom of the finger, but the top of the finger. Now, I don't know if you can do that in 20 seconds. It sounds like you're gonna be spending way too much time in the restroom.
They say
running up your water bill.
You should sing "Happy Birthday" while you're washing your hands. That's what they say. That's an old thing. If you sing a little song that takes about 35, 40 seconds to sing while you're washing your hands.
I've never heard that.
Never heard that before? No.
Yeah, we learned that during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness
That's right.
gracious.
Yeah, man, you've got all kinds of stories about washing your hands.
Now, they say you got to do your wrists, too. So apparently these little germs start climbing up your arm.
Well, there's a whole theory that the germs really aren't that bad for you, that they actually, that you need a certain amount of germs in your life.
Right.
That if your body's not exposed to germs, that your immune system gets lazy.
Right.
And you don't want a lazy immune system.
No, sir.
Yeah.
Especially with the season we're getting into, the cold and flu season.
Right.
But I'm never going to look at my fingertips the same.
No.
Seeing you look at them just like your life just changed.
No, really. There are some things that should not be examined too closely.
I think that's the truth.
And when I say closely, like under a microscope for sure.
Exactly, man.
It's like the black light in hotels. You know it's there, but you don't want to know it's there. You don't want to see it for yourself.
And apparently these hand sanitizers, that everybody is really high on, they're not as good as just good old soap and water. They say soap and water is the best because that actually gets everything. Because apparently sometimes the hand sanitizer won't kill all the bacteria. But like you said, Brian, it's a dilemma.
Well,
Some of this we need.
Your hands get you'd be surprised at the things that are the dirtiest in your life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I type on one every half hour.
Well, no, that thing you're typing on there.
Yeah.
That keyboard. You don't want to know what's in that keyboard.
No.
You shouldn't be looking at the producer's keyboard. I mean, this thing needed to be cleaned a decade ago.
It's especially bad in radio newsrooms where people are eating their lunch right over their keyboards. There's
just think about poor Joan Jones. She's got to come on after me every morning.
I know. You really, there was a time back during the pandemic where we had to scrub down the studio after every person left.
You know? Still got it, Brian.
You still got your bottle of hand sanitizer?
Still got my bottle of hand sanitizer.
I was working at SiriusXM during COVID, that kind of thing. And yeah, every time you're in a studio, they had wipes and everything. It was like, at the gym, they have that. They still have that where you have wipes and you wipe down wherever you left off. Obviously, obviously at the gym you should, but it's like that transferred everywhere else.
I'll give you another one that you're not even thinking about it right now.
Okay.
It is the nastiest thing in your world. It's this little foam thing.
Oh yeah,
on the microphone.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, you're spitting on it. You're all of the unsavory things that happen. I know. Scrub it down now. All the unsavory things that happen when you sneeze are all over that.
Yeah.
The microphone itself is pretty dirty, but I mean, it's that little foam thing.
Right. I can only imagine what's in there. Like there's stuff moving around in there.
When I would come, sometimes you have to come in. You wake up and you don't feel good. You got a little sore throat, and you got to come into work. And when I was working the mornings, and there's some mornings where you get up at 3 o'clock. There's nobody to call to replace you. You got to suffer through it.
You just got to go in.
You just got to go into work and do it. And so what I would do is I would take another one of the foam things from another microphone and put it on the talent, what we call the talent mic. We use that word loosely. Put it on the talent mic, and then I would take the foam thing off, and then I would go wash it out with soap and water,
right,
and then dry it and bring it back and put it on another microphone, so that the person wasn't exposed to my germs when I had a cold.
Yeah. But like you said, man, I mean, when you work that midnight shift like we did, you just got to go in.
Yeah,
there's just no way around it.
Well, okay. Well, there's an unsavory thought for the day. Jeff, how are you going to top that?
Well, I got an interesting one. Do you guys have you guys heard about San Jose State's volleyball team, women's volleyball team?
Nope.
Well, they have a trans woman on that team who's 6'4", 6'5", and like if you watch the film, you can tell which one's the trans woman. Well, Nevada just is the fifth team to forfeit their game against San Jose State. The girls on the team made a vote. They don't want to do it. They don't feel safe. And the actual Nevada school made a statement basically shaming them for saying no. They were basically the here it is. Here's an actual quote of the statement. The player's decision also does not represent the position of the university. The university and its athletic programs are governed by the Nevada Constitution and Nevada law, which strictly protect equality of rights under the law, and that equality of rights shall not be denied or abridged by this state or any of its subdivisions on account of race, color, creed, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression, age, disability, ancestry, or a national.
Yeah, lawyers got involved. What happened there.
They played safe.
Here's the thing I want to say about that. The one question that has not been asked of Kamala Harris. I'm going to get political for a moment. You guys don't have to sign off on this if you don't want to. This is my feeling about it.
Yes,
is that nobody has asked her, how do you feel? And nobody's asked her in recent days, how do you feel about the idea of transgendered men playing against women on the field of athletic play? Now, I mean, it's an impossible thing for her to answer. Because number one, if she says if she stands by her earlier position, she says I'm in favor of it, and then she will absolutely outrage soccer moms all over the country who are now among her strongest support. And then if she says, well, maybe it's something that if she walks away from it the other way, she irritates all of the liberals and the transgenders and the gays who are very much a part of her constituency. There's no way she can win on that question, but it's a fair question. If you're a soccer mom, and as I was a soccer dad, I would be absolutely apoplectic if my daughter had to go on the field of athletic play against a transgendered man.
Especially
I would feel worried.
6'5" transgendered man.
And in volleyball, when they spike it, and that spike that could crush a woman's nose or cheeks, like her face. They could really lead to bad injuries. And maybe she'll get asked about on Fox.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that
Fingers
she gets
crossed.
asked somewhere along the way. Well, I'm gonna fall back upon my role here in this program. I talked about it basically earlier, but I want to repeat it again. That this is a rare opportunity.
Oh yes,
the sun's going down, and as the sun goes down, if you look at what are the skies like? I can't see out my window. Are the skies?
You don't want to see through this. This window I have is pretty gross, but
Well, I mean,
it's cloudy. You see some blue in there, but it's a little cloudy.
Right. Well, look to the western sky. Look into the high, well, just off the horizon in the western sky. You'll see Venus down to the left. And then if you look up from there, sort of at a right angle, well, a 45-degree angle from there, you will see something that you don't see very often, a comet that you can actually see with your naked eye.
Awesome.
That's cool. I mean, and I'm going to try to say this. It's the comet Schuchen-Shan. Schuchen-Shan Atlas is what it's called.
That's it.
Schuchen-Shan. Not Chicken-Chan. Chicken-Chan. It's Schuchen-Shan. And Schuchen-Shan Atlas, and look to the west immediately after sunset, and you will see a comet. Now, sometimes comets come and they say, well, you have to have field glasses or binoculars or a telescope to see it. This one, I mean, you can just see it clear as day, as long as there's no clouds in the way.
Looks like this one is shaped just like a pedal tavern.
I don't get that.
Well, just west of me is Demumbrian.
Oh,
and that's where the pedal taverns take off every day.
Well, fortunately, the weather looks like it's good. There's not going to be a lot of clouds in that night, so we should be able to see it.
Well, you can see it all the way. If you miss it tonight, I mean, the best night was apparently October 13th.
Okay.
That was 2 days ago. But you still very easily see it all the way through the 23rd of October.
Wow. And this is an 80,000-year comet.
Yeah.
So we're definitely not going to see it.
So almost old enough to be president.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think that's pretty cool. And then again, of course, tomorrow we get our full moon.
Yes, sir.
It actually reaches its peak on Thursday. That's right, on Thursday. But they say Wednesday and Thursday night, to the casual observer, it will be a full moon. And this is a super moon. It's known as the Hunter's Moon, and it is really quite a thing to see. And what is a super? This is the last super moon, I think, of the year. I believe I'm correct in saying that. There have been 4 so far this year. And it means that the orbit of the moon is closer than it is normally to Earth. And not only that, when it rises, and you look through the atmosphere as it comes up off the horizon, the atmosphere acts as almost like a magnifying lens, and it makes it look bigger than it really is. So it is truly, well, a super moon.
It's going to be in your face.
Yes, it is.
So a super moon and a comet all on the same night.
Schuchen-Chan.
Schuchen-Chan.
Say that 3 times fast.
Try saying that 3 times real quick. That's right.
Not me. I'll screw it up.
50 minutes now past the hour. All right, get ready for Genesis Diamond's largest ever sale on luxury pre-owned Rolexes. If you've dreamed of wearing a Rolex, you can't miss this special 2-day event, October 25th and 26th. During this event, you can take advantage of special pricing and zero-interest financing on a stunning selection of luxurious pre-owned Rolex timepieces. Genesis has brought in hundreds and hundreds of amazing Rolex watches, all the hard models to find, including Submariners and Daytonas, Pepsis as well. All of Genesis luxury pre-owned Rolexes are in pristine, like-new condition, some right out of the box, and all priced to sell at this event. And listen to this. With the purchase of any luxury pre-owned Rolex at this event, Genesis will give you a pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings free. That's a $3,000 value. Also, if you're currently own a Rolex, Genesis pre-owned Rolex buyers will be on site for you to trade in or sell your timepiece, and you will receive top dollar. Come see the largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches in the state and take advantage of special financing and get a pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings free. October 25th and 26th only, and only at Genesis Diamonds in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Metro Police make an arrest in the Antioch Greenway murder, and former President Trump did an hour-long Q&A today in front of a bunch of Midwestern business people, and he did some pushback on the interviewer. You got to hear it coming up at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, coming up a whole lot more the next hour. It's the fourth hour where we dig deep into the stories you haven't heard. Or if you've heard them, you haven't heard them the way I'm going to tell them.
No, sir.
That's the goal. It's all straight ahead here on The Drive on Super Talk 99.7. Super Talk 99.7 when we come back after the news with Ken Weaver. It's 5:57. So are your retirement assets structured to minimize taxes? Hard to believe, but many hardworking Americans like you could be overpaying on taxes in retirement. You could be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, any other tax-deferred retirement accounts. Beacon Capital Management is here to give you peace of mind. With the threat of massive tax increases just around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax-saving strategies now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. No cost, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait any longer. Schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis from Beacon. Just call this number, 615-488-9303, or visit askbeaconnow.com.
Six o'clock on the dot this Tuesday evening. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now, Metro Police say they arrested a man in connection to that deadly shooting on the Mill Creek Greenway in Antioch last night. Police posted a video of a handcuffed 29-year-old Paul Park of Brentwood being helped out of a patrol car and walked into booking. It comes after a woman was seemingly attacked and then shot in the head as she was running on the Greenway last night around 5:30. Channel 4's Steve Mailing went to Neighbors where the victim lived to learn more about her.
The Mill Creek Greenway Trail is only minutes away from where 34-year-old Alyssa Lokitz lived. We're told that she was super active. Her neighbors saying that she'd wave to them every morning before she'd leave to exercise. Through our research, we've learned she's a graduate of Vanderbilt, where she earned her PhD in neuroscience. From her profile on the Ham Labs page, we know her focus was geared towards pharmaceutical research. People in her neighborhood in Antioch say that she hadn't lived there for too long, but that she was always a friendly face.
Metro Police say one of the two men they've arrested for the deadly shooting downtown on Saturday was let free on probation in April after convictions of robbery and felony gun and drug charges. Police identify him as 25-year-old Marquez Davis. The other suspect they arrested identified as 24-year-old DeAnthony Brown. Both men arrested, police say, have local gang affiliations. One more person has died in the multi-state listeria outbreak linked to deli meats, bringing the total to at least 10 deaths, according to the CDC. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's Inspector General launching an internal investigation into that agency's handling of the deadly boar's head outbreak. Here's Senator Richard Blumenthal today. He said, if necessary, there should be a congressional investigation.
My hope is that this internal Inspector General investigation will show not only the failings with respect to inspection of the Boar's Head facility, but also more broadly, whether the United States Department of Agriculture inspectors are doing the job to prevent the kind of listeria outbreak that killed 10 people.
Former President Trump appearing today before a group of Midwestern business people, and he got combative. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
The hour-long Q&A in front of the Economic Club of Chicago had Donald Trump giving an ardent defense of his proposals to increase tariffs, arguing past presidents weren't tough enough on China.
They said, oh, they are a third world nation. They are developing. Well, we're a developing nation, too. Take a look at Detroit.
Trump pushed back on critics of his economic policies and on Bloomberg interviewer John Micklethwaite.
It must be hard for you to, spend 25 years talking about tariffs as being negative and then have somebody explain to you that you're totally wrong.
That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Lots of people going home, and that means lots of slow go. Some of the slowest is going to be eastbound 24 from downtown, actually from north of downtown, all the way to Briley Parkway before there's any type of improvement. Seeing a lot of slowdown northbound 65 to go east on 440, but then 65 northbound is slow all the way into downtown. And you've got one hurdle there, I-440 westbound at Hillsborough Pike. There's a stall blocking the right shoulder. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good evening, everyone. It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair for one more hour, and then we'll hand things over to Mark Levin, the great one. He'll continue to carry on through the evening. We got all kinds of stuff going on here today. I'm sad to say, I don't know what it looks like downtown, but I looked outside, and it seems in my western sky, it's sort of cloudy. So I'm not sure we'll be able to see the comet tonight. But it's you got between now and the 21st to see it. But, I mean, the sooner you see it, the better, because it will get higher and higher into the sky. And then it will, the best night was the 13th. But we've got a few more days before, it starts to be more difficult to see. So take advantage of it. And again, I won't even try to say the name of this comet. But I don't know. We got cloudy skies over here. All right. I want to talk a little bit about some other stuff we haven't had time to get to today here. Hurricane Helene. It is still a nightmare for the people in North Carolina, East Tennessee, parts of Georgia. Really a hit with this amazing flooding. I mean, you look at these pictures and from everybody who goes there saying the pictures don't even really tell up, the story. It is so much worse than the pictures seem to convey, which is hard to believe because the pictures are pretty hard to look at. I mean, so many people everywhere you go. When you have 31 inches of rain that falls, 40 trillion gallons of water. I read a statistic. That's enough water to fill up 60 million Olympic-sized swimming pools. That's how much water fell in a very short period of time. 31 inches. And water, when there's that much water, landslides, mudslides, rivers that are cresting, and it just, it's in a situation like a hurricane, as we always say, it's the wind is bad, but it's the water that'll get you. And the water, when it fell over parts of Appalachia, it really did some horrific damage. And we keep hearing stories that FEMA's response is lacking. Here's what we know from FoxNews.com. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper announced today that there are 92 people unaccounted for in his state following Hurricane Helene, as the death toll for the storm reached 95. Fatalities reported across some 21 counties, according to the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. The vast majority of those fatalities reported in Buncombe, with 42 deaths. Wow. Followed by Yancey and Henderson, 11 and 7, respectively. The Department of Public Safety formed a task force to find who is still unaccounted for and focus efforts where needed. As of today, the task force number of unaccounted people is at 92, said Governor Cooper during the briefing. The task force, law enforcement, and other partners will continue working to locate those who are unaccounted for, and he says he's very thankful for their efforts. Cooper added that the number of those unaccounted for will continue to fluctuate as more reports come in and others are resolved. I mean, golly, here we are sometime after this flood, and there are still areas where they don't have power, they don't have any running water, and they're not likely to get it back. I mean, the power situation is better, but I mean, the water situation is not good. And it's just, I mean, without running water, how do you then wash stuff off? How do you start to clean up the roads? And I mean, I'm telling you, there is a lot of very serious. I saw some reports this morning from Asheville, and it's just heartbreaking. Asheville, this very vibrant artist community, and all the artists, their work has been wiped out. The artist community is just been destroyed by an onslaught of water. So again, the story continues to be that the people who are doing the yeoman's work here, the people who are really, making a difference, are the private charities, the local entities. To some degree, the military coming in and assisting those. But, I mean, FEMA, where's FEMA? People are saying they just haven't seen FEMA. Not showing up in a big way in eastern Tennessee, not showing up in a big way in North Carolina and Georgia. Here is a story about Georgia. Helene hit Georgia more than 2 weeks ago. Those residents are still without power. 19 long days have passed since Susie Stevenson's home, writes CNN. Home lost power after Hurricane Helene cut through the southeastern United States last month, leaving hundreds of people dead and countless communities devastated. Stevenson is one of thousands of residents in South Georgia still without power following Helene. There are just over 2,000 customers now reporting outages where she lives in Jeff Davis County as of Tuesday morning. Several nearby counties are also reporting outages. But, you know, they're making some progress there. I mean, honestly, the unsung heroes of that are these lineman crews that go in. They you know, all of these electric companies have lineman crews. But when a hurricane or a bad storm comes, you know, other utility companies, they rally to the cause, knowing that when in their time of need, others will rally to their cause. And they get there and they do work. I watched this happen, you know, a time or two over the course of my career. And it's really interesting to see what happens. Generally, what happens is you have, like, in one place I saw, the crews from out of town, they said, well, you need to go to so-and-so, but they don't know where that is because they're not from the area. So they will put a police officer to escort the crews around from site to site, or pair them up with one local crew, and then they'll go into an area and work together. But it's amazing. They make amazing progress so quickly. In this particular case, I think the longer thing, that it's going to take a longer time to get back up, are the water plants. Water plants, a lot of water plants went down. And, you know, they're damaged, and it will take a long time to, you know, get the water purified again and to get all the systems up and running. But, you know, without water, without electricity, boy, the repair is really hard. Leslie Breedlove lives in Hazelhurst, the county seat where she lives, and she says she's been getting by on food donations and by taking showers and washing her clothes at other people's homes. The goodness of others is what has gotten us through, said Stevenson. When I wonder where I'm going to wash clothes, I get a call this morning telling me to come shower, wash my clothes, and have dinner. The generator she uses to power parts of her home is costing her a pretty penny as well. I finally got a refrigerator hooked to it, but it cost me almost $20 a day just for the generator. Someone should have done something, the county or the city. There should have been a contingency plan in place. So, again, let me stop for just a moment and ask you, if this storm had come a little bit more to the west, it might have been us. And you have to ask yourself, are you ready for something like this? I got to tell you, it made me, I mean, I'm not what I would call a serious prepper, but I do take some, what I think are reasonable precautions. And I'm trying to figure out, you know, what would I do? Where would I get water? And how would I, you know, keep the refrigerator running so that I didn't lose all my food? You know, could I get natural gas, you know, propane to run my grill so I could still cook outside? How would I survive? And one of the things it cost me to do, I have a little Honda generator, which has been sitting in storage, and I had no idea if it ran, whether the gas in the thing was dead or it was still usable gasoline. And I got that sucker out this weekend, and I checked it out, and it runs. And I know that I can count on that to some degree if I can get gasoline. But how much gasoline do you keep on hand? More than enough to run the mower? You know, what if you know, what are you going to do if it comes to you? Are you going to be ready? Do you have a little money stuck back in a safe, stuff under a mattress or whatever? So on those times when you can't get to the ATM because there's no electricity, are you going to be okay? Are you going to have any cash? I mean, there's a lot of things to think about. But, you know, anything you do in thinking about those things is, I think, time well spent. I really do. I think it's time well spent. So, just I'm not saying, you need to go crazy. I think some people do go a little too far. I don't know. Maybe someday they'll all be laughing at us. But I do think some reasonable preparations everybody should think about them. The one thing that we're supposed to have in this area, if it ever happens, God forbid, I'm knocking on Formica, that it never happens, is that I hope that we don't have that earthquake that everybody says could happen. Because I'm telling you, that will be bad. We're in a fault that I forget the name of it, but it's the New Madrid fault, I think they call it. And if that one were to go, we would be out of electricity and a lot of other things for quite a while. So, again, I don't mean to worry people needlessly. I don't want you to be anxious about it, but, just a little thought and preparation could go a very, very long way. You hear these people's stories, your heart just breaks. You wish the federal government was doing a better job of responding to their needs. But thank goodness for the good local people and the churches and the charity organizations that go in there and help people rebuild their lives. I'm telling you, you just don't know what a godsend it is for those people. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. I've seen when those people roll into town. What do you need? Yeah, even in my own little minor, and I had comparatively, I had a minor thing happen when my house got hit by a tornado in Mount Juliet. But I'm telling you, the people who showed up were a godsend to me. I'll never forget the people who helped. I ran into someone who said, I was there the day that you got hit by the tornado and I helped you move all your stuff. And I said, you have no idea what that meant to me. To have somebody there who could just give me a helping hand and help me move some stuff. I didn't have, I was without a home for one day because I found a new place very quickly. It was a rental house, and I just rented something else. But I'm telling you, can you imagine what it's like to be in a situation like that for weeks, maybe months before it's all over? Golly, those people who volunteer. There's a special place in heaven for them, as far as I'm concerned. 20 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Grace Point Healthcare is affordable, convenient, and comprehensive medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. Basic Smart Care plans start at just $69 a month. And for that, you get free office visits and free basic labs and diagnostic tests for a full year. At Grace Point, you are usually seen the same day or the next day, and there are no long wait times in the waiting room. Grace Point is your primary provider that treats the entire family from newborns to seniors. Right now, you may be feeling the fall allergy season arriving. Don't suffer through another, like I am, seasonal change. Get complete testing and treatment. Enjoy the beauty of fall this year. Grace Point is a military veteran-owned practice located in the heart of Franklin. Just call this number, 599-6868, to schedule your next medical appointment. Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way.
Metro Police make an arrest in last night's Greenway murder in Antioch. We'll tell you about it at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver there in the newsroom, getting it done on a Tuesday, October 15th, middle of the month. Glad that you're with us as we continue to bring you news and information you can use. President Trump made an appearance today before the Economic Club of Chicago. I don't know what do you do at an economic club? I don't know.
Maybe
But
drink fine wine and smoke cigars?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the fat cats do at the Economic Club of Chicago, but the Economic Club of Chicago, in conjunction with the people at Bloomberg, which is a financial reporting organization, sort of like CNBC, they held this event, and Trump came and spoke to them, and he got taken to task by a sort of a left-leaning reporter, host of the moderator of the questioning of President Trump about tariffs. Now, look, I think that the president has been proven right on his use of tariffs. The tariffs, or the threat of them, has brought business back to America. And you know what? If you're going to be hit with a 10 or 20% tariff on your product, and you're not going to be able to be competitive with things made in America, you figure out very quickly that you need to put a factory in America. And so, that's what he did. But this guy was taking him to task about tariffs. It will cost 14 million jobs, he says. Well, Trump begs to differ.
You're also talking about 20% tariffs on the rest of the world. That is going to have a serious effect on the overall economy. And yes, you're going to find some people who will gain from individual tariffs. The overall effect could be massive.
I agree it's going to have a massive effect, positive effect. It's going to be a positive, not a negative.
Well,
let me just tell you. I know how committed you are to this, and it must be hard for you to, spend 25 years talking about tariffs as being negative, and then have somebody explain to you that you're totally wrong. It'll have a negative. It will have. I'll go a step further.
40 million jobs is a lot of jobs to rely on.
They're all coming back.
Those are 40 million jobs. Those are 40 million jobs in America that rely on trade.
Are you ready? John Deere, great company. They announced about a year ago they're going to build big plants outside of the United States, right? They're going to build them in Mexico.
And you threatened them with tariffs and they stopped.
That's right. I said, if John Deere builds those plants and not selling anything into the United States, they just announced yesterday they're probably not going to build the plants, okay? I kept the jobs here.
Yeah, he has a history of proving that tariffs can work, or the threat of tariffs can work. Sometimes you don't even have to impose the tariff, just the threat of imposing tariffs, which is something that a president can do. There's a whole bunch of people in the economic world that clutch their pearls and really worry about, what if, you know what? He's been proven right on that. He sort of got irritated with the guy. And he was about to even leave this one and go see, I think tomorrow he's supposed to meet with the folks at the vaunted Wall Street Journal. And, he's beginning to wonder, does anybody get it?
What does the Wall Street Journal know? I'm meeting with them tomorrow. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you, by the way. You've been wrong about
You're trying to turn this. You're trying to turn this.
You've been wrong.
No, you're trying to turn this into debate. There are business people. There are business
you're wrong.
people.
You've been wrong all your life on this stuff.
I mean, and what I love about it is, he's very matter of fact. He's not being bombastic. He's not being over the top. He just simply says, you're just wrong about this. And it's a very reasonable conversation. It's reasons like this that I think this story is true. From the Gallup people, Americans continue to register record low trust in the mass media, with 31% expressing a great deal or fair amount of confidence in the media, report the news fully, accurately, and fairly, similar to last year's 32%. But that's it. I mean, less than a third of Americans believe that the media are doing it fairly and accurately. Americans' trust in newspapers, television, and radio are falling across the. Well, I think our people believe in us, but I have a hard time understanding, how they can look at what's happening in newspapers around the country. By the way, a real interesting article I read today. It's way longer and more detailed than anything I would want to try to get into on this program. It's like a 30, 40-page article. But the whole impetus of it is that major newspapers around the country are being basically bought out by liberal organizations and supported, even though they are not making money. They're losing money, but the liberal organizations have taken them over with the idea that, we're going to report things our way. And it's happening more than you might imagine. For the third consecutive year, more U.S. adults have no trust at all in the media, 36%. Gallup first asked this question in 1972 and has measured it most years since then. In the 1970s, post-Watergate, trust ranged from 68 to 72% in the media. Oh, how far we have fallen. But you can have trust in the next guy who reads you the news, because it's Ken Weaver right here on Super Talk 99.7, 630.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now in Nashville, Metro Police have a man in custody in connection to last night's Antioch Greenway murder. 29-year-old Paul Parker Brenwood taken into custody this afternoon. Here's Channel 4's Dryden Quigley with what happened.
Alyssa Lockett was running down the Creek Mill Greenway when police say she was seemingly attacked by a stranger and dragged over to these woods. That's where witnesses heard her screaming for help. Minutes later, they said there was gunfire. When police got to her, they found Lockett's had been shot in the head. She was taken to Vanderbilt, where she died.
Channel 4 says her neighbors say Lockett's was super active and always waved at them every morning on her way to exercise. They say she was a graduate of Vanderbilt, where she earned her Ph.D. in neuroscience, that is. People in her neighborhood in Antioch say she hadn't lived there far too long, but she was always a friendly face. Money News, Sherry Preston.
Tech stocks pulled down the markets, led by two chip makers, NVIDIA and ASML. The Nasdaq lost 187 points, the S&P down 45. The Dow gave up 325 points. NVIDIA shares fell almost 5%, although the company's stock is still up 166% for the year. Investors were also reacting to downbeat earnings from Dutch chip supplier ASML, which were released a day earlier than expected and show a disappointing sales outlook for 2025. Some of Wall Street's sharpest losses came in energy stocks after oil prices tumbled about 4%. United Health Group fell 8%, even though the insurer reported better than expected results, the company lowering the top end of its forecasted profit. Walgreens stock soared 16% on news that the pharmacy plans to close 1,200 stores over the next 3 years. Boeing is signaling it could raise up to $25 billion by issuing new stock or debt over the next 3 years to shore up finances amid a union strike.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. We got a crash now, 440 eastbound. That's right before I-65. You're going to have the right lane blocked there. It is slow going on 65 northbound to go west or east on 40 to South Loop. 40 east and westbound between downtown and the 24 split backed up. And then 24 eastbound's not really clearing up until you get to Harding Place. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. The last 22 minutes of this show will go all the way up to 7 o'clock, and then we'll hand it over after the news to Mark Levin, the great one. And he will carry on through the evening. I'm going to bring you some stories that, we haven't had a chance to get to today. A whole mishmash of stuff, so here we go. The Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, has revised a case of a citizen journalist arrested for having the temerity to seek information from public officials. The Supreme Court on Tuesday revived the case of a citizen journalist arrested in 2017 for seeking information from a police department source in Laredo, Texas. Court threw out a decision against the journalist and ordered the appeals court, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, to look at the case anew. Her name is Priscilla Villarreal, who posts her reports on Facebook. She has more than 200,000 followers. She was arrested under a Texas law that makes it a crime to seek non-public information with intent to obtain a benefit. Villarreal, whose case was later thrown out, wants to sue police and prosecutors. She doesn't work for a traditional news organization. Villarreal has a significant following in Laredo, and she now has the backing of some of the nation's best-known news brands, including the New York Times, the Washington Post, who are supporting her case at the Supreme Court. I believe deeply in citizen journalism. I think, in a time and a place where you can't really trust many traditional journalistic sources, Citizen journalism is really, the answer. And I believe, I think you have to look at stuff carefully to make sure that, that there aren't, what do you want to say? There aren't biases that are in the reporting. A person taking their own personal grudges and turning them into pseudo-journalism. But, there are good bits of information that get revealed to the public simply because a citizen had the information and brought it forward on social media and let other people know about it. It gets picked up by other sources. And so I believe very much in a healthy and vibrant citizen journalism in America. But she sought to sue Laredo officials for civil rights violations, but her case was rejected because lower courts ruled those officials were entitled to qualified immunity, a legal doctrine that shields government employees from civil lawsuits unless their actions are obviously unconstitutional. A sharply divided Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals sided with the city and blocked the lawsuit from going forward. The High Court says, no, you need to look at this again. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. Authorities said Villarreal confirmed and published the identity of a suicide victim, a U.S. Border Patrol employee, as well as a victim of a car accident. And that's where the whole thing is stemmed from, probably following the horrible things that happened there in that area. Gretchen Whitmer is the governor of Michigan, and she's now apologized for a bizarre social media posting that was it looked at as if it were mocking the backlash from Catholics who accused her of mocking the Eucharist. She said she had no intention of demeaning anyone's religious beliefs when she fed a Dorito to a feminist podcaster, Liz Plank, as she apparently kneeled before the governor in a video posted online Thursday. Over 25 years in public service, I would never do something to denigrate someone's faith. I've used my platform to stand up for people's rights to hold and practice their personal religious belief. What was Whitmer thinking about? I mean, have you seen this video? It's very clearly a mocking of the Holy Eucharist, and her statement came after Michigan Catholic Conference President, CEO Paul Long denounced the scene as an all too familiar example of an elected official mocking religious persons and their practices. She wears a Harris Walls ball cap in the video, and she's mugging for the camera. She's proud of this. I read another story that said she's got a social media person, very liberal, very a person who's very active in the gay movement, who is advising her on her social media practices. She wants to be a social media superstar. Well, I'm telling you, she's not. She should have had instincts that this was not going to go over well, and it has not. And simply saying, oh, I didn't mean to offend anybody, when very clearly you meant to offend someone. In Texas, an anti-ballot harvesting rules have been revived by the appeals court. Federal appeals court on Tuesday said Texas law limiting balloting harvesting can remain in effect during this year's election. Boy, I hate this. After a lower court put it on hold. The three-judge panel didn't rule on the merits of the law, but said it was too late in the election season to impose a change on Texas. The district court issued this injunction after counties had already started to mail absentee ballots, wrote James Ho, the judge, and the unanimous ruling for the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeal. They return. They're in the news twice today. In New York, they tried to pass a gun that barred people from carrying firearms on private property. A new gun law in New York violates constitutional rights, a federal judge has said, as he blocks it. The law, enacted in 2023, bars carrying guns on private property unless the property has signs saying that the carrying of firearms is allowed. At least as to private property open to the public, the subject of this motion, New York's restriction is unconstitutional. A result dictated by the teachings of the Supreme Court's recent cases addressing individual American rights to keep and bear arms, says U.S. District Judge John L. Sinatra in a 43-page decision. Sinatra pointed to the Supreme Court's decision in 2022 that concluded that the Second Amendment rights cannot be interfered with by the government officials unless they can show the restrictions are consistent with the nation's history of firearm regulation. This from the Epoch Times. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good ruling there. Meanwhile, this ruling in Pennsylvania, gun rights ruling, from the Epoch Times again, the U.S. Supreme Court on Tuesday vacated a lower court's ruling that had allowed adults in Pennsylvania under the ages of 21 to carry firearms in public during states of emergency, telling a federal appeals court to reconsider the case. The Supremes did not explain its ruling. There were no posted dissents. The two-sentence decision by the High Court that the justices indicated they would not take up the appeal by the Pennsylvania state officials who sought to overturn the lower court ruling. Instead, the justices ordered the case to be remanded back to the lower courts and vacated the earlier decision that blocked the law. So they're going to consider it again. And striking down a 100-year-old New York gun law this was the other case that we just talked about, 100-year-old New York gun law, that now will go back. Courts in Fulton County, there's a lot of legal news here today, rules that Georgia officials cannot delay or refuse to certify election results. This is good stuff here. Election superintendents in Georgia have a mandatory fixed obligation to certify election results. This from justthenews.com. Election superintendents have a mandatory fixed obligation to certify election results, wrote Fulton County Superior Judge Robert McBurney in a ruling. Consequently, no election superintendent or member of a board of elections and registration may refuse to certify or abstain from certifying election results under any circumstance. McBurney wrote that the U.S. Constitution does not allow an election official to decline to certify the results. If election superintendents were, as the plaintiff urges, free to play investigator, prosecutor, jury, and judge, and so, because of a unilateral determination of error or fraud, refused to certify election results, Georgia voters would be silenced, he wrote. Our Constitution and our election code do not allow for that to happen. In economic news, Walgreens, this has been one of a series of stories that have come down the path that suggest that a lot of companies that have been doing business in America for a very long time are going through a very difficult stage. Walgreens will close about 1,200 locations over the next 3 years. 1,200 Walgreens will be closed as it seeks to turn around a struggling U.S. business that contributed to a $3 billion with a B dollar loss. Wow, that's a big thing to overturn. Company shares soared Tuesday after Walgreens detailed the plan and also reported better than expected quarterly results. Company said Tuesday that about 500 stores will close in the current fiscal year and should immediately support earnings and free cash flow. So they're hoping to, right a sinking ship by doing this and stay alive. Investors seem to like that. Walgreens operates around 8,500 stores in the United States and a few thousand overseas. All the stores that will be closed are in the United States. The majority of its stores, about 6,000, are profitable and provide the company with a foundation to build on. But 1,200 Walgreens will be closed. This is interesting. Google has signed a deal. The people who do the kind of work that Google does and the AI people, we've learned that they're going to need an awful lot of electricity because AI burns through electricity like you would not believe. They've now signed a deal with Kairos Power to build a small fleet of modular nuclear reactors to power its data centers. The small modular reactors, a type of next-generation nuclear reactor that is yet to be built in the U.S., are scheduled to be completed between 2030 and 2035 and will produce 500 megawatts of power. I think we're coming to a time where we may see this in the future, where a small little nuclear power plant will be used by cities to power electricity in those communities. And a lot of people will have them. We'll have our own little small nuclear plants right outside the edge of town. 50 minutes now past the hour. Hey, have you heard about the item Costco keeps running out of? Gold bars. They can't keep them in stock. Gold's breathtaking surge this year to repeated record highs hasn't stopped bullion from flying off the shelves. It's a ferocious rally that makes not only one of the best performing commodities, but also means that metal has outperformed other assets like stocks and bonds. The surge has been driven by its appeal as a safe haven asset in times of geopolitical and economic uncertainty. You know where you can get gold when Costco doesn't have any? Go visit my friends at Nashville Golden Coin. They sell the same high-quality products as Costco and other national online retailers. They will not overcharge, and we want to support our local retailers, don't we? Kyle and Hannah are experts and make sure to provide you top quality service that meets your need. If you're buying or selling gold and silver, Nashville Golden Coin is the best place to buy in Middle Tennessee. No need to go to a national chain of retailers. Support your local businesses. Make an appointment today with Nashville Golden Coin. That's right. Go to NashvilleGoldenCoin.com.